10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, my friends, and thank you so much for coming to hang out with me on this Tuesday, February 13th. It is a snow day here in New York. Today's 2024. I didn't say 2024, but today's February 13th of 2024. We've had a lot of snow here in New York. Kids were off from school today, and it's we haven't really seen a lot of snow this year, so it's kind of nice. It looks pretty for now, but we'll see how long it stays pretty. You know how that goes. So we are back to the Adam Montgomery trial. And I don't know how you guys feel about this, but it is the most disturbing case that I have ever handled on this channel. And go Buffs. Hey, Laughing Lori's, go Buffs. It's a little, what is my Buffs logo over there? Colorado Buffs. I am a proud alum of the University of Colorado in Boulder. And we're going to have a really good football team this year. I can just feel it. Thank you, Maureen, for your super sticker already jumping in there with the contributions. And I appreciate you so much. This has been a really rough trial to watch. I've been having nightmares about it when I've been watching the testimony. And what say you, my friends? What say you? Because this is a really hard one. And I want to cover it in a sensitive way, because when I read the probable cause affidavit with you, which was the first stream that we did on this case, which was day one of the trial, it was supposed to be opening statements that day, but instead we got a surprise guilty plea on 2 charges by the defendant, Adam Montgomery, and the jury went on a little bus tour or site view of some of the places, that locations that they're discussing in the trial. And so we did not do opening statements that day, and I have been watching it as much as I can handle of it, because it is one of the most disturbing, graphic, horrific cases that I've ever seen, heard about, talked about. And the system failed poor little 5-year-old Harmony Montgomery in so many ways. And that's a show for another day, because we are going to eventually get to a show where we're going to go through all of the ways that Harmony was so failed by the system. And we're going to look at some of Kayla's testimony today. Kayla is his wife, the step monster of poor little Harmony, who is no longer, and she's the star witness for the state of New Hampshire against her now estranged, I guess, husband, Adam, who is currently sitting in jail serving up to 65 years on firearms charges that he was sentenced to back in August of 2023. And just horrifically evil human beings, both of them. And the fact that she's their star witness is a little bit frightening, because she is, in my opinion, completely not credible. She's a pathological liar. She's been caught in so many lies during her testimony. She lied to the grand jury on this. That's why she is sitting in jail, because of the perjury charges that she was brought up on, because she lied in front of the grand jury of Adam's case, of this case. And frighteningly, she's up for parole in a couple of months. So because she struck a deal in this case, she can't be charged in this case unless she's caught lying on the stand. And this is pretty horrific. Yes, just firearm charges, but he was a career criminal in possession of some firearms that he stole and then tried to sell. So yeah, I want to rewind. Thank you, Benjamin John, for bringing that up. I want to rewind back to that trial, because thank you, Ashley Snow, for your super sticker, and Charlene for becoming a new member. We do try and have a lot of fun around here, and our membership is a lot of fun, my little cupcakes, but this one is just, it's not fun, and I don't know how I can make it fun. There is just not anything that's funny about it. There's nothing light about it. This is a heavy, heavy case. And I want to try and stay away from some of the gore, and I'll just sort of tell you about it instead of you having to watch Kayla talk about it. Hey, Scott McGinnis, I know you're a tough guy, so if you can't take this, nobody can. Kayla is a state star witness along with a career convict drug dealer. Not good folks. They're not good folks. And I know New Hampshire woman is here. I have a lot of people watching from New Hampshire. I used to spend my summers in New Hampshire. As a kid, I went to sleepaway camp there over on Lake Wentworth. So I love New Hampshire. My summers were spent there. And I mentioned the other day when I did this stream that the last time I was in Manchester, downtown Manchester, a couple of years, I want to say it was maybe summer of 2021. There were a lot of addicts wandering around downtown Manchester, and it was kind of scary. And I'm a tough chick too. I don't mean to diss Manchester if that's your town, but there were a lot of people walking around like zombies. And it was clear to me that there was a huge drug problem in Manchester, at least then. I don't know if it's cleaned up now, but based on the testimony that I'm hearing from Kayla in this trial, it is absolutely horrific. Thank you, Charlene. It's absolutely horrific there now. So sad. Still in Manchester? Still? Horrifying. Let's try and keep it classy in the chat tonight. I did a show the other night, and it was a live show it was a last minute live show, breaking news about a woman who walked into Joel Osteen's church and opened fire. And I thought, okay, this is going to be like, who's going to be able to say anything horrific about this in the chat? Who's going to be nasty in the chat? It couldn't happen, right? Well, it did. The chat was on fire with vitriol and nastiness, and I usually don't have that issue because I usually set it to subscribers only. But there was a lot of vitriol in the chat. It was really surprising to me because we usually don't have that here. So I do have the best mods on YouTube. They are very protective of me. Most are retired law enforcement, and they kick the bullies out of the chat. So let's try and keep it classy. This is a rough case. But I don't like the cursey words. We don't use foul language. I don't use foul language. I'm going to try and keep the gore to a minimum. And yes, Nosy Rosie, it was so gross. And listen, there were so many people. There was maybe 3,000 people in chat. Thanks, Nosy Rosie. It was gross. I'm sorry you had to leave. And my moms were on top of it, but the chat was moving so quickly that it was hard. Some people got timed up by accident, and some people just kept coming back. Like they had a lot of accounts. It was gross. Yeah, it was surprising because that doesn't happen here. This is usually a safe place. So I want to go back a little bit to Adam Montgomery's weapons trial. And I want to go back to, it's the same judge, the same defense attorney, in the same courtroom that we are watching this trial in now. And I want you to hear what the judge had to say during his sentencing. And I got to tell you, I covered this case on Duty Ron. With Duty Ron. I think it was before I had my own channel, or right in the beginning of when I had my own channel, and Duty Ron had already been covering it for a long time. So I covered it with him, this weapons trial. And I was really nervous that he was not going to get convicted because every single witness who testified for the state was an admitted addict or recovering. And there were just so many issues in this case that I didn't know that the jury was going to believe anybody. It was really up in the air for me, but he was convicted. And Kayla did testify against him in that trial. But let's just take a look. I want to show you how the judge feels about Adam Montgomery, or how she felt about him then. And, she's human. She's not going to put aside her feelings for this case. They're probably the same way they were in the last case. And perhaps that's why he's not showing up to court. Adam Montgomery has yet to step foot in the courtroom for this trial. And as the defendant, he does have the option on whether or not he shows up. So maybe he didn't want to have to look at Kayla. Maybe he knows how the judge thinks about him or remembers the judge's really harsh words. but I want to play for you a little bit of the sentencing. And this was this was August 7th of 2023. Just let me know that you can hear it.
Montgomery, the state is not requesting that the court consider your other pending charges here. And I understand from your counsel the concern that any sentence imposed today would be taking that into consideration. And I want to tell you that the court is not. You will have your trial on that. You're being sentenced today on these armed career criminal and theft charges that you've already been found guilty of. But the court notes that there are a significant number of aggravating factors here, making the minimum mandatory sentences that you're requesting inappropriate.
So now if you did not watch the firearms trial, you're going to understand why he received such a harsh sentence in this case, which is up to 60 years in prison. And that's where he's currently sitting now.
First and perhaps foremost, each of the prior felony offenses outlined by the state in their sentencing memorandum involved significantly violent behavior and violent conduct that involved weapons. Your prior conduct over the 15 years may be some of the most violent and egregious that I have seen. It involves a knife to the throat of a 15-year-old, a gun pointed at a woman with a child in the home during a home invasion, a gun pointed at a police officer, and an armed robbery where the victim was shot in the face. You yourself were shot during that incident. Not all predicate offenses for armed robberies are for armed career criminal cases are the same. And these predicate offenses are particularly egregious. This case itself, the stolen firearms in this case also had significant aggravating factors. These guns were stolen. There was a child in the house. The guns were maintained while you yourself had children in the home. There was trading, selling, buying back of guns. The guns were sold to and bought back from a convicted sex offender. And ultimately, one of the guns was discovered in the hands of an individual who is apparently trafficking in both guns and drugs. The brazen nature of
Benjamin, he had been charged, but he had not been tried, obviously. And I mean, I think they wanted to keep him in jail on something, and this was their way of doing that. That's my personal opinion.
Your conduct, the bragging. I mean, I listened to these witnesses. You bragged about the guns. You talked about them being hidden in the walls of your home. You talked about concerns about being discovered by the ATF. I mean, this is not a felony where there were 3 predicate offenses involving controlled drug acts. The gun violence has taken a toll on our community, particularly on the young people here. And the trafficking of guns in the community, the violence that we see as a result of those guns being in the wrong hands cannot be minimized. And for these reasons, as I said, I don't believe that the minimum mandatory sentences are appropriate here. Therefore, the court is going to sentence you to 15 to 30 years on each of the armed career criminal charges consecutive to each other. On the theft cases, what I'm going to do on those is you'll get a 7.5 to 15-year stand committed sentence. 5 years of each of those sentences will be suspended, conditioned on your good behavior and compliance with the terms and conditions of the sentencing order. And I will tell you that I am doing that because given your history, I want something to incentivize you to be of good conduct while you are at the prison. And if you are not of good conduct or you commit other crimes while you are incarcerated, the state can move to impose that suspended portion of your sentences. So each of the theft charge, they'll be concurrent with each other, but they will be consecutive to the armed career criminal charges. We will have a restitution hearing. I'll allow the state 90 days to file a pleading with regard to restitution. If no pleading is filed, no restitution will be ordered. So I'm going to read you the sentences now. Please listen carefully. On charge ID 2008743C, you are sentenced to the New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 30 years nor less than 15 years. There is added to the minimum sentence a disciplinary period equal to 150 days for each year of your minimum sentence to be prorated for any part of the year. This sentence is to be served as follows: stand committed, commencing today. The court recommends the Department of Corrections that you be screened and or assessed for drug and alcohol treatment needs. The state will be granted 90 days to submit a pleading regarding their request for restitution. If they do so, a restitution hearing will be scheduled upon further filing or objection by your counsel. Additionally, you're to meaningfully participate in and complete any counseling, treatment, or educational programs as directed by the correctional authority or probation parole. You are ordered to have no contact with Christopher or Kimberly Frayne. That no contact is either directly or indirectly, including but not limited to contact in person, by mail, phone, email, text message, social networking sites, or through third persons. No contact at all, Mr. Montgomery. That would be cause to impose the suspended portion of your sentence. Law enforcement will be directed that they could destroy or return evidence to its rightful owner in the case. You are ordered to be of good behavior and comply with all the terms of your sentence.
I mean, that's one of the questions that I had. Did the Massachusetts judge who gave Adam Montgomery custody not look in the file? Did he not have this guy's rap sheet and the horrific felonies that he had already been convicted of? How did he even get custody? Kayla is going to testify that he tried for 4 years to get custody of Harmony. Because, you know, every month there would be a check involved for food stamps and more drug money, in my opinion.
Additionally, on charge ID 2008742C, you are sentenced to New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 30 years nor 15 years. There is added to the minimum sentence a disciplinary period equal to 150 days for each year of your minimum sentence to be prorated for any part of the year. That sentence is to be served stand committed, consecutive to charge ID 2008743C. The court recommends to the Department of Corrections that you be screened or assessed for drug and alcohol treatment needs. Additionally, you are required to meaningfully participate in and complete any counseling, treatment, or education programs as directed by the correctional authority or probation parole. You have the same no contact order on this charge as well. Law enforcement may destroy or return evidence to its rightful owner in this case, and you are ordered to be of good behavior and comply with all the terms of the sentence. On charge ID 1964099C, you are sentenced to New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 15 years nor less than 7.5 years. You have the 150-day disciplinary period to be prorated for any part of the year. Stand committed. 5 years of the minimum and none of the maximum is suspended. The suspensions are conditioned upon your good behavior and compliance with all the terms and conditions of the sentencing order. The suspended sentence will begin today and end 15 years after your release from this charge. So this charge is consecutive to the armed career criminal charges, but concurrent with the other theft charge. All of the other conditions that I reviewed with you earlier with regard to the destruction or return of evidence, the requirement of good behavior, and that you be screened for drug and alcohol treatment needs are also included on this sentence. On charge ID 1964098C, you are sentenced to the identical sentence that I just reviewed with you, which is, and these two sentences are concurrent. It's the not more than 15 years nor less than 7.5 years at the New Hampshire State Prison with the 150-day disciplinary period, and includes the.
Let me just fast forward a little bit because she goes on and on and on about each individual charge and what she's giving him, which eventually gives him up to 65 years. But she did say this is one of the worst, most violent cases that she has ever handled or seen.
And a decrease or increase of the minimum or maximum term within the limits fixed by law, or there may be no change in the sentence. And a form for making out.
And then he gives a statement, and I have that on another tab, but he gives a statement after this. I'm going to pull that up. About he declares his innocence in the death of Harmony in any event. So let me just pull that up for you because you just can't make this stuff up. But at least he's serving 65 years on the weapons charges.
And on Boston25news.com.
As the King and I discussed today,
Wait 1 second. What happened?
the United States is working on.
Maybe it was at the end of the tape. Hold on 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves for a second. All right, here we go. Got a fancy new second screen over here for my birthday. My kids got me, so we are in business. We're going to get the hang of this one of these days, you guys. Promise you.
I could have had a meaningful life, and I blew that opportunity through drugs. But I loved my daughter unconditionally, and I did not kill her.
A bombshell statement from the man accused of killing his own daughter, Harmony Montgomery.
Well, Adam Montgomery publicly denying that he killed his 5-year-old daughter in New Hampshire. This happened during his sentencing for convictions on gun charges.
Boston 25 News reporter Bob Ward live in Manchester, New Hampshire. And Bob, this is the first time we've heard something like this from Adam Montgomery.
Yeah, this is the first time Adam Montgomery has publicly said anything about his missing daughter, Harmony Montgomery. And he said it just before a judge sent him to prison for a very long time.
I did not kill my daughter, Harmony, and I look forward to my upcoming trial to refute those offensive claims.
Adam Montgomery begging a New Hampshire judge not to consider the fate of his missing daughter, Harmony Montgomery, as the judge sentences Adam in an unrelated gun case. Prosecutors believe Adam Montgomery beat his daughter to death in December 2019 when she had an accident in his car. Harmony is still missing. At this sentencing, with Harmony's mother, Crystal Sorey, in the courtroom, Adam, for the first time, publicly talked about Harmony.
I loved my daughter unconditionally, and I did not kill her.
What did you think when you heard
I don't believe him.
It's a lie.
It's a lie.
We don't.
Why did he say that?
He's trying to save himself. He wants people to feel sympathy for him, some type of, he's trying to be a victim, but if he didn't do it, who did?
New Hampshire Judge Amy Messer told Adam Montgomery she did not consider Harmony's case as she sentenced him to decades in prison for his conviction of being an armed career criminal. Harmony's mother told me afterwards she needed to be in that courtroom. It was important for you to see him.
Yeah.
Why?
So he can see that I'm not going to stop for her until we find her, and he is under the jail.
Some very strong statements here in court in New Hampshire. Now, prosecutors say the way this sentence is set up, Adam Montgomery will spend at least the next 32 and a half years in the state prison behind bars. He could spend as much as 75 years in prison. Now, his trial for the murder of Harmony Montgomery, that's separate, and that begins in November.
Bob, pretty remarkable to hear Adam Montgomery talk about Harmony. Was it like in the courtroom to hear those words uttered in person?
Well, we really didn't expect it. Until that moment happened, the sentencing was very routine. The prosecution was stating its case, why it wanted a lengthy sentence. The defense was trying to get that knocked down. Then all of a sudden, his defense attorney said, and now Adam would like to say something. And it was pretty much a stunning moment when Adam stood up and said what he had to say. I
remember when this happened back in August, nobody expected this. This was kind of a bombshell. that day in court. Nobody expected this to happen. It was crazy. This was back on, I believe, August 7th, 2023.
I don't think anybody expected him to talk about Harmony Montgomery in court today.
Very newsworthy to have that story today for sure, and hear those remarks from Adam Montgomery tonight. Appreciate you staying so close.
And that was that. So he will never probably see the light of day anyway. He looked forward to his trial back in August, but he doesn't see the reason to come to court now. I don't know. I mean, I imagine he's not going to be called to testify, but I kind of feel like he has to if he's going to refute everything that Kayla said. So it is his right not to come to court as long as he's represented by counsel. So technically he's not a no-show. He's not defaulting. He's got an attorney representing him. But, you know, what say you? What inference would you draw if you were on the jury? They're not supposed to draw any inference from that. But of course they do, because you don't leave your common sense at the door when you're sitting on a jury, and neither will they. I want to pull up for you, in case you didn't see it, just to show you the difference in appearance between now and then. Kayla testified in the firearms trial, so I'm just going to show you a little piece of that. We don't need to make any comments about her appearance, but I just want you to see, this was back in, I think, June. He was sentenced in August, so this was June of 2023. Take a listen to this. It's a quick clip.
Kids, and I was looking to see what was going on in the I remember I was taking care of the kids, and I was looking to see what was going on in the living room from the kitchen, and it was just chaos.
The stepmother of Harmony Montgomery taking the stand today in her estranged husband's firearms trial. Boston 25 News reporter Jim Morelli walks us through what happened in the courtroom and what Kayla Montgomery revealed about this alleged scheme.
She cut a deal with the New Hampshire Department of Justice, and it required Kayla Montgomery to do just one thing.
To tell the truth.
Notice how they walk her in shackles there and a belt, because it was not her trial. She was a witness. They're not doing that during her trial because it's too allegedly prejudicial to the jury. I mean, during this current trial, I guess.
The truth she told put estranged husband Adam Montgomery at the center of a scheme to sell 2 stolen guns.
Who possessed those guns?
Adam.
Who retained those guns?
Adam.
Who stole those guns?
Adam.
Kayla Montgomery is serving time for perjury, but other charges were dropped in exchange for her testimony against Adam, who was separately accused of murdering his daughter, Harmony. From a prosecution standpoint, it appears she delivered.
And you testified that you observed the defendant attempting to sell the guns, the stolen guns, for drugs and or money?
Yes.
The guns in question were stolen from Kim and Chris Frayne, who were friends of the Montgomerys. In September 2019, Adam visited Kim while Chris was out of state working.
And he told you that her door was open?
Yes. And he said that she was passed out, and he woke her up. And when she woke up, she was freaking out about the guns missing.
Those guns consisted of a shotgun and an AR-15. Kim Frayne testified that she and Adam Montgomery planned to buy drugs that night, but both...
Kim Frayne has also testified in the current trial. This is her testimony from the prior firearms trial back in June of 23.
...fell asleep. By morning, Adam was gone, and she noticed the guns were missing. Kayla says Adam's story later changed.
All he said was that Kim was passed out, and he ended up taking the guns.
And that upset you?
Yeah, because he took them from friends, and I didn't want the guns in the house.
At the time, the Montgomerys were parenting small children, including 5-year-old Harmony, who 3 months later would disappear. Jim Morelli for your local station, Boston 25 News.
Heartbreaking. So Scott asked what she's charged with. She's charged with perjury. She is charged with perjury in lying to the grand jury in Adam's case. She pled guilty and she was sentenced in November of 2022. So that was before the firearms trial. She was sentenced to at least a year and a half, and that was November of 2022. So she's almost getting out. Could be getting out in 3 months. At the time she was 32 years old, she pleaded guilty to 2 charges, alleging that she lied to the grand jury about working at the Dunkin' Donuts on November 30th of 2019. She said at the time that that was the last day she saw Harmony, which was a lie, as we've learned from watching her testimony now. She also agreed to cooperate with prosecutors who charged Adam with second-degree M in Harmony's death. And in exchange, the prosecutors dropped the charges that Kayla had lied to state health officials about having the child in her care in order to collect the welfare benefits that she received and the receiving of stolen firearms. So she did keep cashing the welfare checks and using the food stamps even after she knew Harmony was gone. Those charges were dropped in exchange for her testimony and this light sentence. So she's got that going for her. And this is a no body case. So while it's a difficult case, I don't think it's going to be difficult for the jury to reach a verdict. But in any event, what I wanted to do with you today is to go through some of her testimony and the difference in her demeanor between her direct examination and her cross-examination, because I found the difference to be dramatic. Dramatic. During her direct examination, she turned on the waterworks. She was hysterically crying. She showed a lot of emotion. And during cross, she showed hardly any emotion. I don't think she cried once. I even tried to fast forward through a lot of the testimony to see if she ever cried, and I couldn't find it. So if anybody can point out to me where she actually got emotional during the cross-examination, please let me know. Team Brittany doesn't think she's going to get out. Hopefully there'll be some public outcry up there in Manchester. And this is true. Okie dokie says, but they wouldn't have anything if not for her telling about all the moving of the child. They did find evidence to back at least some of it seems. Yes. But does that indicate that she is not responsible for Harmony's death? Remember, that's the defense here. The defense is Adam didn't do it. Kayla did it. Kayla did it because she got so mad that she was living in the car with all of these children. And one night she just went kind of berserk. And she's the one who was responsible for Harmony's death. And Adam's just the one who cleaned it up. And the strategy there, if you think about it, is kind of smart. I mean, he pled guilty on day 1 of the trial to the charges of abuse of a corpse and falsifying physical evidence. So he's already pleaded guilty to those. He's already in jail for 65 years anyway, but he does not want to admit that he had anything to do with Harmony's death. So let's take a look at what Kayla said when she got on the stand. She was on the stand for 2 full extended days, both last Friday, which was February 9th, and yesterday, which was February 12th. And I found her demeanor to be in stark contrast to each other. She was almost catatonic when she was being cross-examined. I don't know if she was medicated, but I just found it to be quite bizarre. And it made me question her credibility all the more. I mean, it's not enough that she's an admitted liar and she got caught stealing at Dunkin' Donuts. And, there's a lot of problems with her testimony in general, but let's take a look at certain portions of it. I don't want to let it get too graphic. I know a lot of you have probably already watched it, and if you haven't, it's probably for a reason, and so I don't want to go there, but let's try and keep it as gore-free as we can, and I'm even going to speed it up a little bit. If you find it to be too fast, let me know, but I found 1.5 to be okay, not too quick.
Kayla, can you begin by stating and spelling your full name for the record?
My name is Kayla Montgomery, Kayla, Montgomery.
And how old are you, Kayla?
33.
Where do you currently live?
I am in the correctional facility for women's in Concord, New Hampshire.
How long have you been there?
For over a year.
Kayla, why are you currently incarcerated?
For perjury, for lying on, to the jury about the whereabouts of where I was and where Harmony was.
And when you say lying to the jury, was that?
So right away, the prosecutors got to get in front of this. He's got to get it out there immediately because she's a liar. She's already committed perjury, which is a very, very heinous crime. He's got to get in front of it. He's got to get it out there first thing. And it's just something he had to do. And I mean, I guess I applaud him for that, but I don't find her to be that credible. Scott had a great point. I highlighted it and then it went away. But yeah, it makes Adam, if Adam did plead guilty to this or was convicted of this, taking the life of his own child, his prison bid would be a lot tougher amongst his fellow inmates, something he does not want for sure. I agree. I agree with you. Oh, thank you, Team Brittany, for gifting 5 memberships. In order to receive a membership, they are given out randomly by YouTube. I have no control over who gets them, but you have to be participating in chat and have gifts enabled. All right, so here we go. Back to the perjury.
At the grand jury?
Yes.
Did you also lie to the police?
Yes.
Why'd you do that?
Because I was scared and I was told by Adam to stick with that story that I got dropped off at work at Dunkin' Donuts, where I no longer worked at that time, and to say that he was bringing Harmony to meet her mother, Crystal, and that he dropped her off with her. And then when he came pick me up from work, which I was not working there at the time, he didn't have her in the car, which that was a lie.
That story that you just told, that was what you told the grand jury?
Yes.
That's what you told the police?
Yes.
And was that in fact what happened?
No.
You said you've been sentenced for lying.
Yes.
You're living at the prison. Do you understand the consequences of providing false testimony?
Yes.
Thank you, Patronus.
And since those lies, since your time in prison, have you sat down with investigators? Have you sat down with the Attorney General's office and provided additional statements?
Yes.
How many times?
About 4 times.
How many hours?
A couple hours at a time when they've came to see me, or I've gone out to the office to meet with them.
Did you reach a plea agreement with the state?
Yes.
And that was on the perjury charges?
Yes.
Other charges were dismissed, is that right?
Yes.
The story that you just told about the defendant dropping Harmony off with Crystal, who came up with that story?
Adam.
Why did you stick to it?
Because I was scared for myself and my children that are also Adam's, and for him, because I didn't want anybody to get in trouble and I was scared.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Kayla, you referred to Harmony Montgomery just now. How do you know her?
She's Adam's daughter, and we started a year after we got together. He was working on getting custody of her, and he had to work to get custody of her. He wasn't just given her, and it took 4 years to get custody of her. And during those 4 years, we both visited her each week for a couple hours.
Is she crying for herself or is she crying for Harmony? What say you? She turns on the waterworks right away. Talks about how they tried for 4 years to adopt Harmony. Yeah, drug money will do that to you. Sorry. And listen, I'm not bashing everyone who's in recovery at all. If you are in recovery and you are in this chat, and I know a lot of you are, I commend you. I commend you. But this, I submit to you, in my opinion, they did not want custody of Harmony because they loved Harmony. My opinion. They needed the extra funds, Brooklyn Payzola, right. For drugs. Drugs are bad. Drugs are bad.
Is she your stepdaughter?
Yes.
Showing this witness what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit 98 by identification. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
Who's depicted in this image?
Harmony and myself.
Can you point to Harmony? And is there a date associated with this image?
Yes, July 7th, 2019.
And do you recognize this image?
Yes.
Is it a fair and accurate representation of Harmony on that day?
Yes.
Who's the other person depicted in that picture with Harmony?
Myself.
Is that a fair and accurate representation of you that day?
Yeah.
Do you know who took this photo?
I did.
Your Honor, at this point, I'd move to strike the ID and mark the skull, case exhibit 98,
Any objection? Okay.
and publish.
The ID is stricken. It's entered as a full exhibit, and it may be published to the jury.
I want to just explain that rule of procedure for you because I saw some people talking about it in other chats and on other streams, and I just want to clarify what's going on here. So a lot of times during trials, all of the exhibits are marked in advance for identification. That doesn't mean they're automatically going to be admitted because everything that you admit as an exhibit during trial has to be authenticated by a witness unless it's stipulated. So in this trial, you're going to hear them say, I'm going to show you what's marked as identification, prosecution's exhibit 1 or A, and I'm going to ask you if this is a fair and accurate representation. Who took this picture? She took the picture. Now it can come into evidence, and he moves it into evidence. We do this also in New York. I heard some other streams saying we don't do this we do this in New York. So a lot of times they will pre-mark all of the exhibits because the judge doesn't want to rule whether all of the exhibits are going to come into evidence ahead of time, and the judge will make the rulings during the trial. Once the proper foundation is set, the exhibit is moved into evidence rather, and I hope that explains it to you a little better if you were wondering what was going on every time they did that during the trial.
Kayla, what were you and Harmony doing in this photograph?
We were taking pictures and laughing, playing. We always did silly pictures.
You mentioned getting custody of Harmony at some point. Do you remember when that was?
It was the month of February of 2019.
And where were you living when you got custody of Harmony?
77 Guilford Street in Manchester, New Hampshire.
When you got custody of Harmony, was she potty trained?
Yes.
Was she potty trained after you got her or before you got her?
Before.
Did she have accidents when you first got her?
No.
So you mentioned 77 Guilford Street. When did you move into that home?
It was in 2018, probably around April or May. I think it was around that time.
Whose home was it?
Adam's grandmother's, Helen Montgomery.
Did she live there with you at any point?
Yes, when we were staying there in the beginning, she lived there.
And in the beginning, who else lived there with you?
Adam's uncle, Kevin Montgomery, Adam's brother, Michael Montgomery, and Adam's brother's girlfriend, Kayla. I don't remember her last name.
Another Kayla, though.
Yeah, and myself and Adam, and we had Seamus.
How old was Seamus when you moved into that house?
About to turn 1.
Would you recognize that Guilford Street?
So before she was even pregnant with their son, Seamus, they were trying to get, according to her, custody of Harmony for about 4 years prior to that. So a Massachusetts judge in his infinite wisdom awards custody to Adam in February of 2019. One of the reasons that he got custody is because the biological mom, Crystal, was in a different courthouse at a different hearing for the adoption of her son, who is Harmony's half-brother. The judge would not adjourn the hearing, despite the fact that she told the judge she had another hearing in another courthouse and couldn't be 2 places at once. And he gave custody to Adam. Also, despite the fact that the couple who was adopting her half-brother also wanted to adopt Harmony, the judge, is in his infinite wisdom, gave custody to this career criminal, drug addict, felon. How did he lose custody to begin with? I don't know that he ever had custody. I think when he divorced the mom had custody, and then because she had drug issues, Harmony and her brother, half-brother, kept being taken away. And eventually that's how she lost custody. I don't know that he ever had custody. I don't know that he ever wanted custody. until perhaps he realized there was a paycheck that was going to be involved with the custody. So she's going to go on to testify that they did live in Adam's grandma's house with the uncle Kevin, who is eventually going to call CPS and say that, or DCYF in New Hampshire, to say that Harmony has a black eye. But that despite the fact that the grandmother and Kevin and some of the other people in the house moved to Florida, I think, they were evicted right before Thanksgiving in November of 2019. And that's when they went to live in their car. So I'm going to skip to that portion of it. So when he was awarded custody of Harmony, he did have an address. He did have a place to live. And then they became undomiciled, as I've seen it called recently. Guess that's the PC way of saying it. Undomiciled right before Thanksgiving in 2019. So let me just fast forward to that for a second.
In 2019.
Kayla, why were you evicted from the home?
Because the mortgage wasn't getting paid.
And after you were evicted, where did you begin living?
In our car,
What kind of vehicle was it?
a Chrysler Sebring.
When you began living in that car, who were you with?
It was myself and Adam, Harmony, and the two boys
Where were you sleeping during that period?
in the car
Where would you keep the car?
behind Colonial Village in Manchester,
Why Colonial Village?
because that's where our friend lived,
What was your friend's name?
Anthony.
Our drug dealer. That's where our drug dealer lived. So we didn't want to go too far away from where our drug dealer lived because he would deliver drugs to the car. So we took our children and we lived in his parking lot so that we could get our drugs quicker.
Daryl.
Did you tell Mr. Badero that you were living there in that parking lot?
He asked us not to, but yes.
And so can you just describe the sleeping arrangement in that vehicle for you and your family at the time?
So Adam would sleep in the driver's seat. I slept in the passenger seat, and Harmony was behind the passenger seat, and the baby Declan was in the middle, and Seamus was behind the driver's seat.
Kayla, I asked you earlier about whether Harmony was potty trained when you got
And by this time, they have another baby.
custody of her. And I believe you said she was.
Yes.
Did that change at some point after the eviction?
Yes.
And tell the jury about that. What happened to Harmony?
She wouldn't let us know when she had to use the bathroom, and so she was peeing in the car, just in her seat that she was sitting in, and she wouldn't tell us that she had to use the bathroom.
Was she only peeing or was she having other accidents at the time?
She was also pooping.
How frequently was it?
She wouldn't tell you because she was scared to death of you. Not just you, but also her father. She was scared to death. She was living in a car at 5 years old with her parental figures. I can't even call them parents, shooting up heroin in the front seat while these children were in the back seat. Petrified.
This occurring for Harmony?
A lot, like at least every day.
Or was she having other accidents at the time?
She was also pooping.
How frequently was this occurring for Harmony?
A lot, like at least every day.
And did those accidents, did they increase in frequency the longer you were in that car?
Yes.
How was the defendant responding when she had these accidents?
Getting angry.
Would he do anything physically to her when she had accidents?
Yeah, he would smack her.
And what does that mean that he would smack her?
He would smack her in the face or on her leg or in her hand.
Were these soft smacks, hard
No.
smacks, or something else?
They were like hurt, stung smacks.
What makes you say hurt, stung smacks?
Because she would cry during, like, whenever she got smacked by him, and I could hear it, and it sounds like it hurt.
Yes, Sophia Starlin. Harmony was legally blind in one eye, not Kayla, but Harmony. Yes, you're correct.
I'm sorry, you could hear the crying or you could hear the smack?
Smack and the crying.
When you say she was crying, who's she?
Harmony.
Those strikes, were they manifesting in any way on Harmony?
Yes.
How were they manifesting on her?
The more accidents she had, the more he would get angry and he would hit her repetitively.
Was the defendant causing visible injuries to Harmony?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
And tell us about those injuries.
When he would hit her, she started getting black eyes and bruises on her face, on her legs. Yeah.
Did you ever see her bleed as a result of being struck by him?
No, I didn't see that.
Did you ever see the defendant attempt to cover Harmony?
Yes.
And can you tell the jurors how he did that?
He would cover her with the comforter that we had in the car
Why would he cover her?
so nobody could see her.
No emotion here at all. No emotion here at all. He's covering her with a blanket in the car so that nobody can see her when they walk by the car that she's living in because she has black eyes and other marks of abuse that are visible on her. But she's not getting choked up about this part of the testimony. Just pay attention to when she gets upset and whether you think it's about her or what happened to Harmony.
How often would he cover Harmony?
All the time. Anytime that we had interference with anybody, no matter who it was.
Was this only when you went out in public, or was it when you were still in that parking lot, or both?
Both.
Kayla, were you involved in an accident, a car accident on November 29th of 2019?
Yes.
And I want to turn your attention to that day. Who were you with that day?
Tabitha, Scott,
Who else was in the vehicle during that accident?
Adam, myself, Harmony, and the two boys.
Who was driving?
Adam.
That Sebring, did you regularly drive it? Did you drive it at all?
Yeah, I didn't drive it, but he did. He had the license. I did not.
You didn't have a license at the time?
No.
So you said that Adam was driving, the defendant was driving the vehicle. Where were you in position to the rest of the people in the vehicle?
I was sitting with Harmony in the back seat behind the passenger side.
And where was Harmony?
Next to me and Declan. She was in between.
And where was Seamus?
In his car seat on the other side of Declan.
Would that have been behind the driver's seat?
Yes.
You mentioned the Tabitha Scott.
Yes.
Who was she to you?
She's been one of my friends for a long time.
And she was in the car with you that day?
Yes.
Where was she seated?
In the passenger seat.
And what was Tabitha Scott doing with you that day?
We were going to get drugs.
We're going to get
And
drugs.
can you just walk us through the accident? How it occurred?
There was a stop sign, and it was an intersection. There was a stop sign. It was a four-way intersection, and there was a truck that went through their stop sign, and we already had stopped, so we were going and ended up hitting that car, the truck.
Did law enforcement respond to that accident?
Yes.
Did you see an officer?
Yes.
Were the officers able to see Harmony?
No.
Tell the jurors why not.
Adam didn't want the officers to see her because she had black eyes, so she was covered with a blanket.
Were there other people, specific individuals that he would cover Harmony up and keep her hidden from?
Yes.
And tell us who those individuals were.
It was Anthony Madero, and when Tabby was in the car, she didn't look at her, she didn't see her, but she knew she was in the car.
Kayla, so this accident occurred on November 29th.
Yes.
I want to turn your attention to December 7th of 2019.
Yeah.
Does that day stand out to you?
Yes.
Why?
Since the day that Harmony passed away.
The day that Harmony passed away?
Yeah.
Were you still living in the car at that point?
Yes.
Were you still sleeping in the Colonial Village parking lot?
Yes.
You mentioned Harmony having accidents and then becoming more frequent at that point. On December 7th, was she still having those accidents?
Yes.
And had they increased in frequency?
Yes.
Did Harmony have an accident first thing in the morning?
Yes.
And that would have been before you started your day?
Yes.
What happened when she had that accident?
Adam repetitively kept punching her in the head.
Okay. So I want to break that up.
All right, let's get that trigger warning up again because this gets repetitive and it gets, I'm not going to play the whole thing. This is her version of the truth. And obviously, we don't know if it's the truth. And somebody said, Why is she how in the world did she get a plea? And she got a plea because she's the only witness against Adam. He has pled guilty to the abuse of a corpse and the falsifying physical evidence charges. And so he's admitting that he did something with her remains after taking a life, or after her life was taken, let's say, but she's the only one who can testify as to all the details. And that's how they got all the forensics on this case, because it's a no body case.
That morning, where did you wake up?
At Colonial Village.
And what happened first thing in the morning?
We went to the methadone clinic.
And before you left for the methadone clinic, did Harmony have an accident?
Yes.
Oh, they're going to the methadone clinic, but they're also doing drugs. So explain that to me. I mean, are they clean and they're getting in a program and they're doing meth and they're going at 7 a.m. to the clinic every day, but they're also still doing drugs? I don't understand. How does that work? Somebody explain that to me. I have questions. If you're still doing drugs, does methadone give you a high as well? Right. That's exactly what I'm saying. Green-eyed Southern girl. How did they get high while using methadone? I don't know. People say, yep, it's common. I thought it's sort of like canceled each other out. No, it's not like a Suboxone or something that is supposed to stop the effects. Maybe Suboxone doesn't even do that. Maybe it's something else that I'm thinking of. Right. KCO5. I'm surprised they even spent their time going to the clinic. It's interesting. Thank you, Scott, for that. I know you're cooking dinner and this is your dinner time. I'm a late dinner eater. I know you're an early dinner eater, so I apologize for going early on this, but it's a snow day here. Yeah, Cricket. I'm going to highlight this one for later because I do want to talk about that as well.
And what did the defendant do before he went to the methadone clinic? What did the defendant do to Harmony after that accident?
He was yelling and screaming at her and punching her in the head.
How did she react to that?
She was crying.
You mentioned the methadone clinic. Was that Habit Opco?
Yes.
And what did you do at the methadone clinic that morning?
Got my dose of methadone, and Adam got his also.
And do you remember who went in first?
No, I don't remember who went first.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Let's skip ahead a little bit here. She's going to refresh her recollection, which is totally acceptable to do because despite the fact that she's prepped, she can't remember every single detail. So he's allowed to give her something to refresh her recollection if she says, if he asks her, would it refresh your recollection to look at this document? And she says yes, then he can show it to her.
Kayla, can you tell the jurors what happened when Adam returned to the vehicle after his methadone treatment?
When Adam came back to the vehicle, he could smell urine, and he started yelling at Harmony and kept hitting her in the head repetitively.
Where were you when he smelled that accident? Where was the vehicle when he smelled that accident?
In front of the methadone clinic.
Did you discuss going somewhere with him at any point that morning? Going to get food?
Yes. I asked to go to Burger King.
You asked to go to Burger King?
Yes.
And so at some point, did he begin driving the vehicle?
Yes.
Was that before or after he repeatedly struck Harmony?
After.
What was Harmony doing at that point when he started driving the vehicle?
She was crying a lot.
She was crying a lot?
Yeah. And she was making a weird noise.
Was she saying anything?
No.
She was making a weird noise. I don't even want to tell you what I think that is, but I'm sure that you can surmise what that is if you've watched true crime cases for long enough.
And Kayla, I want you to walk the jurors through in as much detail as you can what happened on your route from Habit Opco to that Burger King.
Adam was getting really angry from Harmony peeing in the car, and he repetitively kept punching her on the way to Burger King. And there were a couple red lights, and when we were at red lights, he would like go over the driver's seat, like in between the passenger seat, and he was just punching her repetitively in the head.
And you said there were several times where he punched.
So remember, her testimony was that Harmony would sit behind Kayla in the car on the passenger side. So that was easy access for Adam to turn around and punch. Callie Dime, good point. It says, I think they only did methadone when they couldn't afford to get the drugs.
Punched her repetitively in the head.
Yes.
How many times did he hit her?
I can't count. I don't know.
Were you counting?
No, it wasn't.
How many lights did that car come to where he repetitively struck her?
At least 2 or 3.
Between Habit Opco and the Burger King, did the defendant say anything to Harmony?
Told her to shut the fuck up. Stop crying.
You said she was making a weird noise.
Yes.
Can you describe it?
It was like I can't even describe it. It was like a moaning kind of noise, but crying. It was just weird. I can't explain it.
Did you try to help Harmony while he was striking her?
Yes.
Tell the jurors what you did to try to help.
I put my arm up and said to stop, but he looked at me and he gave me this look that was like evil. His crazy eyes. I didn't like it, and I couldn't stop him from hitting her because the look that he gave me was scary. I was scared.
Crazy eyes. She was scared. She was scared of his look. He had crazy eyes. Thanks, you guys, for chiming in on this. Donna McGuire says it's common for some addicts to get methadone and still use. Holly says fentanyl breaks through methadone. It's so strong. And Ruby says that keeps them from getting sick when they go get high. Thank you. You guys are schooling me on this. And Susan Vignani says, yes, methadone does not block. Okay. Let's take a breath.
What were you feeling when he looked at you like that?
Like he was either going to hit me or just, I don't know. It was weird. And that was like one of the first times that I've seen him look at me like that.
Was it the last time you saw him look at you like that?
No.
And we'll talk about that more.
I got dropped off at.
Wait a second. Weird, because it was one of the first times. It was one of the first times he looked at me like that. So is she now testifying that he was not abusive until that day? Because that's interesting to me. That's what she said, right?
The look that he gave me was scary. I was scared.
What were you feeling when he looked at you like that?
Like he was either going to hit me or just, I don't know. It was weird. And that was like one of the first times that I've seen him look at me like that.
Was it the last time you saw him look at you like that?
No.
Okay, so if they're going to paint her as a victim of DV, and I am not in any way minimizing DV or the trauma bond or Stockholm syndrome or any of that, because that is very, very, very real. But if she is testifying now that this is the first time he ever gave her that look, I have my doubts. Galen says her words slip a lot. Pilo's mom, I don't believe a word she says. She only cries to save herself. Did she ever strike the other baby, mama, or kids? Michelle McDonald said his punching bag was Harmony, the scapegoat. New Hampshire woman. It's moving quickly. I just missed yours. His look of anger may have been worse than she had seen before. Kirsten also says I struggled with this. Yeah, I'm struggling with this right now because the impression that I was getting was that the defense was going to be, well, she doesn't need a defense, but that they were going to say that she was a victim of DV. And that's why she was so afraid of him. But she just said that was the first time he ever looked at her like that, but not the last.
Oh,
And we'll talk about that more. But I want to focus on this drive. You said that Harmony's crying. She's making this weird noise.
yeah.
Where was she in the vehicle?
She was behind the passenger seat.
And who was in front of her in that car?
I was.
You described the defendant almost coming over the seat.
Yes.
Was he still driving at that point?
Some, like, kind of. Like, between the red lights, and it definitely at the red lights. I remember that.
How was he striking her?
By punching her in the head.
Where were your other two children at that time?
In the back seat.
And what were they doing?
They had no idea what was going on.
How old were they?
Seamus was about 2.5, and Declan was 11 months old.
Did you look back at Harmony at any point?
No.
Why not?
Nope. She didn't even look back at Harmony. Didn't even look back at her. Yeah, no, DV does not excuse, and I absolutely does not. But in my mind, anyway, it gave me a little bit more understanding. Like maybe that's why she didn't turn him in. Maybe that's why she didn't try to get away. Maybe that's why she didn't try and, escape with her children, go to her mother's house, get away from him somehow. Shelly says he just got worse as the addiction got worse. I don't know that they were not addicts before the children. Didn't he? That's what I thought, Callie Dime. I thought he did, but it seems like this is the first time he ever looked at her with those crazy eyes. And I'm going to submit to you that if he was, hitting her too, let's say, I've already been demonetized on this stream for subject matter, so I guess it's out of the box now, that he would have looked at her crazily before.
I was scared.
What were you scared of?
If Adam was going to say something, or if he hurt her really bad, it was going to look really bad.
Oh, so now she's crying because it would look really bad to other people if somebody saw her, Harmony. Not because she felt bad for Harmony. She felt bad for Adam because it would look really bad for Adam. Wow.
You were scared of what Harmony would look like? That attempt to intervene, were you successful in that?
No.
Did he stop after that?
Shortly after that.
Shortly after that. Did he say anything to you when he stopped?
He said he thinks that he really hurt her. He felt something.
When he said that he thinks he really hurt her, where was the vehicle at that point?
At Burger King?
At the Burger King?
Yeah.
Oh, she forgot to say he really hurt her this time. That's the linchpin of her testimony. That he really hurt her this time. But I guess he'll try and rehabilitate her, so she adds that in.
And what did the defendant do after he stopped hitting Harmony, after he said, I think I really hurt her?
Nothing.
Did he order food from Burger King?
Yes.
Where was Adam when you were ordering food from Burger King?
In the driver's seat.
Did he go inside to the Burger King or something else?
No. I don't remember going in there.
Did he go through the drive-thru?
Yes.
Thanks, Amy.
And so who ordered the food?
Adam did.
And what did you do with the food that he'd ordered?
Ate it, gave some to the kids.
Where were you when you ate the food?
In the parking lot.
Which parking lot?
Of Burger King.
Now, the kids were behind you at that point.
Yes.
Is that what you testified to?
Yes.
And who gave them food?
I did.
Did you see Harmony when you were giving them food?
No.
Why not?
Because she was under the blanket.
Who put her under the blanket?
Adam.
She gave her food because after going to the methadone clinic, And after him losing his temper with Harmony, punching her in the face, they go to Burger King. She gets the food, hands it to Harmony, but doesn't even turn around to look at her. Doesn't even turn around to look at her after she heard her moaning and making noises and sounds because she was underneath the blanket. Didn't even turn around. There is a special place in hell, my friends, a special place in hell for this woman.
That's the same blanket that you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
The same blanket he would cover her with?
Yes.
Where did you go from the Burger King parking lot, Kayla?
Went back to Colonial Village.
And how did you get there?
With the vehicle, Adam driving.
Was Harmony still under the blanket when you arrived at Colonial Village?
Yes.
And that moaning that you mentioned, that weird noise that she was making, was she still making it?
No.
How long did that noise that she was making last?
I don't remember. It wasn't. I don't remember.
She doesn't remember that part.
I don't remember if it was too long. I don't remember if it was after we were at Colonial Village for a little bit, or if it was before.
But that moaning, did it eventually stop?
Yes.
Did you check on Harmony at any point after the moaning stopped?
No.
Nope. Never checked on her. Never checked on her, even after the moaning stopped. Wow.
Did Adam?
No.
Why didn't you check on her?
Because I was scared.
When you arrived at
Scared to look, scared to see. Wow. Anne says, remember, the child was like 40 pounds soaking wet and was blind in one eye. These adults let themselves sink into such unimaginable depravity.
the Colonial Village parking lot, when you arrived back there, what did you and the defendant do?
We got drugs and got high.
When you say we got drugs and got high, what drugs did you get, Kayla?
Heroin and crack.
Okay. So after the methadone clinic that morning and after the breakfast at Burger King, this is not a great endorsement for Burger King, by the way, they then got some, wait, hold on, crack and what?
When you say we got drugs and got high, what drugs did you get, Kayla?
Heroin and crack.
Heroin and crack.
And how long did you use those drugs for in that parking lot?
We were there for probably 10 or 15 minutes.
Where did you go from the Colonial Village parking lot?
I don't remember where we were going, but I know we left.
You left at some point?
Yes.
And what happened when you left the parking lot?
We made it to the next street over, going towards Elm Street, and the car died when we got to the traffic light, and it wouldn't start or anything, and so we were stuck without a vehicle.
What was the defendant doing when the car died?
He was trying to get a jump, and there was no jumping the vehicle, and so we ended up having to leave it. And when we were getting out of the car and getting the kids out of the car, Harmony had passed away.
Let's talk about that. When you say Harmony had passed away, when did you realize that Harmony had passed away?
When Adam was trying to wake her up and she didn't reply or anything.
Was he saying things to her to try to wake her up?
Yeah, he said Harmony, and he kept saying baby girl, like, and trying to budge her, and there was nothing.
Was he touching her?
Yes.
What was he doing to her body at that point?
Trying to figure out what to do and getting all the kids out of the car. He took the duffel bag that was in the trunk and
Stop. I need to put the trigger warning up again. So I need to find one. I know, Shelly. I know it's called addiction. I know, Sharon. I'm very, very familiar with addiction, as I know a lot of you are. Sharon creates addiction, removes that little voice that says stop. I know. I just don't find it to be any excuse here. I just don't. Come for me in the comments. I have merch that says it. Come for me. Come for me. respectfully, drugs are bad. Drugs are bad. This man never should have been given custody of this poor child. And I understand that the other two children were theirs. What I don't understand is why nobody called DCYF that the other two children, the baby and the child who was maybe almost 2, were living in a car in the winter in New Hampshire. It's cold there, you guys, around Thanksgiving, right? If you see something, say something, please, for the love of all that is holy.
And put her in the duffel bag.
You mentioned this duffel bag from the trunk.
Yeah.
Had you seen that duffel bag before, Kayla? What was it used for?
When we got kicked out of the house, we put clothes in there for everybody.
Thank you, Patrona.
And it was in the trunk of the car.
Did you see him put Harmony in that duffel bag?
Yes.
How did he put her in there, Kayla?
He like folded her in half and put her in the double bag.
Did he call 911 at any point?
No.
Did you?
No.
When you saw him put her in that duffel bag, did you attempt to get away, to run?
No.
Why not?
Because they had the 2 other kids and I was scared.
Scared of?
That something would happen to me or Adam and the kids.
That something would happen to me or Adam or the kids. The kids are like an afterthought. It's me or Adam. She's still protecting him. She's still protecting him. Yes, Perry, 100%. Perry says, do you think that prosecutors needed her testimony to get a conviction or should have charged both? No, yeah, I think they needed her testimony 100%. You know, and if you're worrying about, if you're wondering about spousal privilege is not something that can be invoked when you're involved in the crime. Whether it's the actual crime or the cover-up. There would have been too much reasonable doubt about who actually did it if they charged them both. So we are going to fast forward at this point. Suffice to say, the car broke down. They walk back with the duffel bag with Harmony in it to Colonial Village. And they wind up transporting her remains to several different places and put them in several different containers. And it is horrifying and disturbing at the very deepest levels of anything true crime. Yes, Stephanie, that's what everyone wants to know. If Adam admitted abuse, of course, wouldn't he know where she is? Well, there's testimony that he took that somebody rented a U-Haul for them and that he took the remains and went somewhere. And yes, the spouse can waive spousal privilege, but Adam, in this case, why would he? He would never waive spousal privilege. The privilege belongs to him because he's the one on trial here. She can't just say, oh, I'm choosing to testify against him. But when it comes to CA and to felony charges like this, there are very slim circumstances where spousal privilege doesn't apply, and that is one of them. Aunt Bibi, absolutely no sympathy, but I'm wondering, since she's not doing drugs right now, Kayla realizes what she didn't do, therefore the crying. Again, I don't have sympathy for her. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Do they have methadone programs in jail? She may be on a methadone program. She said she testified in the firearms trial that the only reason she got clean is because she actually did go to jail. You are correct. The body has never been found. A little mystery. We had a mom, her 2 kids, and a friend toss an OD guy in his 40s in the woods after he passed. It's familial around those parts. That's horrifying. Nancy, he will never tell. New Hampshire, when he went across the Tobin Bridge in Boston in a U-Haul, you're right. They have the records. They've got the receipts. They've got photographs. They've got, I don't know, easy pass. Scott says the DA lost all leverage with him when they tried him for the guns first, right? He's already in for 60 years. What incentive does he have, right? To give up where the remains are if he knows. I mean, we're assuming that he knows, but he swears he didn't do it. No, Holly, go lightly. My favorite movie. Breakfast at Tiffany's. Has the monster Adam shown up at court yet? No. No, he hasn't shown up. It's his right not to come. But if you didn't watch the beginning of the stream, watch the beginning later. Don't rewind now, but we watched his public declaration at his weapons sentencing, his firearm sentencing, where the judge, and it's the same judge that's in this case, talks about how horrific the firearms charges were because of the horrific acts that he had committed in the past. The felons where he held a knife, the felony where he held a knife to a 15-year-old's throat. I think he also shot a man over a drug deal. He was a violent felon, and that's why he got 60 years in the weapons charges, because not only was he a career criminal with the number of felonies already on his record, so as a career criminal, you're not allowed to even touch a weapon. He stole the weapons from his friend Kim Frayne that he was smoking meth with one night and then tried to sell them. I know, Mozzie, the reason that they didn't try this case first is because they wanted to hold him. They wanted to get him on something and keep him in there. And remember, they were still finding evidence, because once Kayla flipped and turned state's evidence, she gave them all the locations. They went back to all the locations. They found bodily fluids in the ceiling tiles of the families in transition shelter where they lived in room 1. They found stuff in the refrigerator, I think, of that same apartment. They were able to retrieve a lot of forensics that without her testimony, they probably would not have been able to obtain. And it's chilling. It's disturbing. Yeah, thanks, Cam Miller. Hit the like and subscribe. I know it's not really something anybody wants to like, but because we've already been demonetized because of subject matter, the stream's not going to get pushed out. So we're going to get shadow banned. And I hate to see that happen, because I think this is a really important case. Trust me when I tell you it's not about the money. Like some moron on Twitter thinks I'm a grifter because I'm covering the Karen Reed case. Really, can you believe it? Because I need that money so badly that it couldn't possibly be that I actually believe that Karen Reed is being framed. I'm a grifter. So it's not about the money and the clicks and the likes, because trust me when I tell you I'm too old to care about those things. I am on this channel because I like to talk about the tough topics. The topics, the things that nobody wants to talk about, the things that need to have a light shined on them, because I've always been a voice for the victims. My entire 30-year career as an attorney has been spent advocating for victims, mostly of clergy SA, because I took on the Catholic Church here on Long Island, the Rockville Centre Diocese. I represented at least 50 or 60 victims/survivors of clergy SA when the scandal broke in 2002. You may remember that if you live in Boston, because that's where it broke initially. Yeah. I know, Becca. And thank you to those of you who did defend me on Twitter. I mean, trust me, it didn't get a lot of views anyway, so I really didn't care. But Becca says, it just came back when I saw Melanie's face fill the screen. Grifter is hilarious. What a tool. Yeah. I'm not even going to make that person feel important by even mentioning who he is. That said that, but this is ridiculous. Right. Amy, thank you. This is why I like this channel. Melanie doesn't beg for money. She includes everyone. Yes. I will not start a GoFundMe for myself. I will not tell you that I can't afford food. And please donate to me. And that's what shadow banning is. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Nancy, Green Eyed Southern Girl. It's where they try to hide your channel, right? Because they're not making money if they can't put ads on my stream, if they don't think it's friendly to advertisers because it's a tough subject matter. And therefore, they're going to push out the videos that they can put ads on. You appeal it, and then sometimes it gets overturned, but sometimes it takes 24 hours. I did a show the other night, the Joel Osteen's church show. Can't even say what it was about because, that was a problem. And it was demonetized right away. And the appeal didn't get overturned until after it already had about 60,000 views. So I don't know. I think there's a class action lawsuit in there somewhere for YouTubers against YouTube, but that's for another day because I really don't care enough to handle it. Shelly, I love watching you. I think you're a good person and care about what you're doing, and it's not about the money. And I'm from Waltham, Mass. You are, Shelly. So you are also following me with Karen Reed, and there's going to be some stuff coming out soon, I think. I haven't heard whether they've agreed to adjourn that court date on Thursday yet. Have you? Did the judge issue an order yet? It's on consent. Both sides have agreed on consent to adjourn the motions hearing on Thursday the 15th until March 12th. So very interesting. Cricket, Melanie, stop. We know you and the haters don't matter. I know, but it's annoying to me. It's annoying. I know. It is crazy. All right. So anyway, no decision yet? Nothing yet? Nothing yet? Okay. Judge has not responded. Wait, yes, it was pushed to the 12th? All right. Thanks, Lindsay. All right, Mark says Harmony was failed by everyone. The saddest thing is she never had a hero. No, she didn't. I'm going to show you a hero. I have that pulled up. Sadly, the hero did not get custody in this case. So there's a lot more testimony from Kayla. I'm just going to go to a little portion here that is, I don't know. Let's just go to this, and then we're going to go to some cross. I know this is hard to watch, but I'm trying to, this is under the chapter that's called Adam's Alleged Plan to Dispose of the Body. So here we go. Remember, Kayla also had a mother who lived nearby that they eventually do move into her house, but there was really nobody willing to help these people and house them. And ask yourself why. Well, they were stealing, obviously. I mean, he was already convicted of stealing his friend's firearms, so.
So he removed her from the trash. He put her in the cooler.
Yes.
Her body.
But the big, and it was on my mom's floor level, in the hallway. And he put the cooler in, he put the duffel bag in the cooler.
And what was in the duffel bag at that point?
Harmony.
Okay, so they transfer, or he transfers the duffel bag to a cooler. It gets disturbing here. Thank you. Thank you, Patronus Glow, for the trigger warning. And thank you also to all my moderators who chipped in and sent me a Zara gift card for my birthday yesterday. That was so sweet of you. And Miss Donna Marie has been undergoing some health issues, and she's asked for prayers, and I'm going to also ask you for prayers. So please put prayers up for Miss Donna Marie, my queen of the moderators. She is amazing. She's going through some health things right now, and she hasn't been around as much as she usually is. And so we are just praying for her and sending good healing vibes and just letting you know, Miss Donna Marie, that we love you and that we are here. Whenever you are ready and able to come back, we welcome you with open arms. We love you. All right, back to this horrific cooler.
So he removed her from the trash. He put her in the cooler.
Yes.
Her body was still in the duffel bag at that point.
Yes.
Yes, you may. Yes, you may.
So I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 28 for identification.
Yes.
Do you recognize that item?
Yes.
What is it?
That is the cooler that was on the porch in my mom's hallway.
Is that a fair and accurate representation of the cooler?
Yes.
That's what it looks like?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this point, I move to strike the ID and mark as full State's Exhibit 28.
Okay. The ID is stricken. It's entered as a. It's my understanding the actual cooler was in court today, and the actual cooler was shown to the jury. Horrific.
Full exhibit.
Move to publish.
Yes, you may.
Kayla, how did Harmony's body fit into this cooler?
Adam pushed it in the cooler so it would fit.
Is that something you saw him do?
Yes.
Were there any noises when he did that?
Not that I remember.
How could there not be? How could there not be any noises? She doesn't remember that. Patricia Siebel, what's the latest on who has custody of Kayla's little boys? Please, please tell me she'll never see them again. Adoption is so fantastic and loving. If anybody knows the answer, please answer Patricia in the chat, because I do not have 100% verification on that.
How long was she stored in that cooler for?
For a couple weeks.
And how long did you stay with your mother for? How long were you with Christina Lubin?
For a couple weeks.
Did her body stay in that cooler for the entire time you were with your mother?
Yes.
Why?
I honestly don't know.
How often did you see that cooler when you were living with your mother?
Every day, multiple times a day.
Where was the cooler kept?
In the hallway.
Was that your mother's hallway, or was it?
It was access to everybody who lives in the building, but it was on the level of my mom's apartment.
And tell us about that hallway. What else was kept there?
I don't remember.
Were there other items in that hallway?
I don't remember.
Where did you go after living with your mother?
Wow, she's struck with a sudden case of amnesia. Doesn't remember any of those finer details. When Harmony was in a cooler in the common area where anybody could walk past her.
To the FIT shelter, families in transition.
And when you moved to the families in transition shelter, is that FIT, the FIT shelter?
Yes.
When you moved to the FIT shelter, where was Harmony's body?
Adam put her.
Hold on, I need another trigger warning. If one of you kind souls will put that up for me before we even get to this. Pippi Longstocking says, I pray that the prosecution will revoke her immunity. They're going to have to prove that she's lying, and that's a difficult thing to do, I think. Oh, wait, because today's witnesses impeach Kayla's lie. I did not watch today's witnesses yet. Were you guys watching with Judy on today? Thanks, Hilsey. Erin, I see your super chat. I'll get to that in one sec.
In the ceiling. In the vent of the room that we stayed in.
What room did you stay in while you lived with the families in transition shelter? Kayla?
It was the first room. It was room 1.
And how did he access the ceiling to store her in there?
He used the bunk bed and climbed up in the ceiling.
Was there something that allowed him to access the ceiling that was above that bunk bed?
There was a vent.
Who slept under that bed?
The kids.
Where did the defendant sleep?
We all slept on the floor on the mattresses.
So, Kayla, I'm showing you what's been previously marked for identification of States Exhibit 30 through 34. Can you please look at each of these items in turn and describe what's depicted in it?
This is the outside of the family shelter.
And that's States Exhibit 30.
And this is the door to room 1, and next to it is the second room.
And that's Exhibit 30.
This is the room. I'm just going to ask you to move it a little away from the microphone.
Yeah, would you? Thanks.
And when you say this is the room, whose room was that?
It was the room that we stayed in.
And that setup, the way the room is set up, is that similar to how it was when you lived there?
Yes.
And that's States Exhibit 32. What is States Exhibit 33? What is depicted there?
The vent above the bed.
And what happened with that vent?
Adam moved it so he could go in the ceiling.
Now, did you ever touch that vent, Kayla?
No,
And State's Exhibit 34?
it's the vent.
Are those fair and accurate representations? Is that consistent with your memory of what those items look like?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this point, I move to strike ID and Marcus Will State's Exhibit 30 through 34.
All right, the idea is stricken. Those are entered as full exhibits and may be published to the jury.
And so, Kayla, I'm holding up what's been marked.
And that's important too, because they need her to authenticate that that's where they lived at the time when the bag was put in the ceiling, because that is where the law enforcement investigators and crime scene investigators retrieved the ceiling tiles, and they have DNA and other fluids and other evidence from those ceiling tiles. So that is another reason why Kayla's testimony is so important, because she needs to testify that that's the room that they lived in. I mean, it could be testified to other ways, but she's also got to be the one to say that he put it up there.
It's been admitted at State's Exhibit 30. What is this item? What is depicted here?
The outside of the family shelter.
How long did you live at this family shelter for?
A month and a half almost.
And State's Exhibit 30? What's depicted in this image?
The room that was the one we stayed in was on the left side, room 1, and the other room is the second one next to it.
So you stayed in room 1?
Yes.
And you mentioned room 2 being decided.
Yes.
And State's Exhibit 32 and 33. You mentioned that this was consistent with what the room looks like when you lived there?
Yes.
And those are the bunk beds that you mentioned?
Yes.
No, I didn't
You said you
mean,
could see
I
the
meant
bag.
it meaning the bag. It meaning the bag, not it meaning Harmony. I would never say it meaning Harmony. That he put the bag up there. But yes, I agree with you. That's a horrific. The purple.
That was used in these images?
Yes.
And can you remind the jury what's in State's Exhibit 34?
That's the vent that he climbed up to, but Harmony in the ceiling.
When you say he climbed up to the Harmony in the ceiling, who's he?
Adam.
At the time you were living at the family's in transition.
Hey Dennis, I would love to get Dr. G
the
on.
office
Does
to meet
anybody
them.
have any a bat phone to Dr. G? Hold on 1 second, because I just got us off the stream. Where was I? There's a little bit of a delay. Yeah, if anybody anybody has the bat phone to Dr. G, sure. Love to. Don't know him. However.
So I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 28 for identification. Do you recognize that item?
Yes.
All right, we've already
What is
been
it?
through the cooler.
What happened when those maintenance workers came?
Adam took her.
Horrible. At the time you were living at the family's in transition shelter, was there anything going on with Harmony's body? Was she having any changes? Or was her body having any changes?
Yes.
And I want you to tell the
Was her body having any changes while you were living at the family's in transition shelter? Need another trigger warning. I'll just give you a verbal trigger warning.
jurors what those changes were.
You could smell a horrible smell that was coming through the vents.
Do you remember that horrible smell?
Yes.
Did maintenance come at some point while you were living there because of that smell?
Yes.
And what happened when those maintenance workers came?
Adam took her back down.
Thank you.
From the ceiling. And brought the bag in the bathroom.
And what happened when Adam brought Harmony down from the ceiling?
That she was starting to smell and there was fluid leaking.
So you smelled her. And did you see the fluid?
No, I didn't see it.
How do you know about the fluid that was leaking?
Adam said that.
What did he say?
He said that there was blood up in the ceiling and fluid.
And so what did he do with that duffel bag containing Harmony after he removed her from the ceiling because of maintenance?
He put her in a trash bag.
I'm showing you it's been marked as State's Exhibit 52 for identification.
Yes.
Kayla, do you recognize the item that's depicted in this image?
Yes.
What is that?
The CMC diaper bag.
Is that a fair and accurate representation of the CMC diaper bag?
Yes.
CMC it stands for something maternity center. So this was a maternity center diaper bag to testify that he compresses the body to get it in there by using lime and other methods that are even more horrific than you could imagine in your wildest dream. So we're just going to skip a little of this.
You mentioned being at the Families in Transition shelter for a month and a half.
Yes.
During that time, did the defendant begin discussing disposing of Harmony, getting rid of her body?
No.
At some point, did he begin discussing disposing of Harmony, getting rid of her body?
Yes.
And what was his plan? What was his idea for getting rid of her?
To use lime. And dismember her.
What did he believe that lime would do if he used it on her body? Did
The objection is sustained. You can rephrase the question, please.
Did the defendant tell you what he believed lime would do if he used it on Harmony's body?
Yes.
What did he tell you?
That it will help decay her body.
That it would help decay her body?
Yes.
Did he tell you what he believed dismembering her would do?
No.
But he told you that that was his plan?
Yes.
Counsel, can you approach her just a minute?
Okay. And then he eventually brings the body in this bag to the pie company where he works, puts it in the freezer. And it gets worse and worse. Adam runs a U-Haul. Kayla has no idea where Harmony is now. But that's not all, because she comes back to testify yesterday, which was day 4. We're going to watch some of that testimony and some cross. Let's just go to the chat for a second. Thank you, Pachonas. Thank you for happy birthday. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Team Brittany, for gifting 5, 10, 15 memberships. You are amazing, girl. Thank you so much for your generosity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you so much. Aaron, thanks for your $10 super chat. If Adam's story is true, he got home that morning before the clinic at 3 a.m. and Harmony was already unresponsive. Could Kayla have been reliving Adam's anger that morning? I just do not believe her. I think a lot of people don't believe her. I don't know yet. I don't know if I believe her or not. Liars lie. And that's what she's going to get hammered on and cross. And we're going to watch some of that. And I think the cross was done very, very well. It was methodical. There was a plan. There was a roadmap. And I think it was done very well. Oh, thank you, Dina Jam, for your super chat. Happy birthday. Hope you didn't get too much snow. We haven't got, I think maybe like 8 inches. Thanks again, Aaron, for another $5 super chat. Follow up. There was so much in that car. Could she have ingested something? I know he's just as guilty. I just do not buy this story even a little. I know. Maybe. Thank you, Sarah, for your super chat for my birthday. I appreciate you. Thank you very, very, very much. You guys are amazing. You guys are amazing. I don't know. That's why I want to know. I'm going to come to you guys. Let's watch a little bit of the cross, and then I want to know what you think. Do you find her credible? Or do you think she's covering up for herself? I'm back. I swept myself out again, as I often do, because I'm excited. Swiper, keep swiping. I know. You know enough, though, to hang around. You know enough to hang around because I always come back. So today, or yesterday, yesterday, she came in and she's got like a hairpiece, right? Does she have some sort of like bun, like a hairpiece, like a clip-in or something? I don't know what's going on here. And I usually don't make comments about appearance, but I just think it's weird that she was able to get a hairpiece in jail. And watch her walk in. Maureen, you think it's a jailhouse hairdo? I thought it was like a piece.
What would happen to you based on
What did happen? Do 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 do. Maybe it is her hair. I don't know. It just looks to me to be like a clip-on of some kind.
Be careful the wires there. And if everyone's ready, please rise for the jurors.
Thanks, Aunt BB. Aunt BB says, I'm sure her testimony isn't 100% truth, but I don't think she unalived Harmony. Adam did. Cricket says, I'm thinking this is on her, and Adam knew. With priors, no one would believe him, so he helped cover it up. Then again, I've been wrong the last 3 trials I watched.
You may be seated. Ms. Montgomery, I remind you, you are still under oath.
Yes. I believe when we left off on Friday morning, by the way, when on Friday we were talking about getting ready to sit down and talk to police after you were arrested.
Oh, wait. This is not the first cross. Let me get the first cross. This is day 2 of cross. I just wanted to play a little bit of day 1. All right. What is this one? And this is where she's going to get confronted with all of her lies. So if you haven't seen it, let me know what you think. Whether this was effective.
Ms. Montgomery, I just remind you that you remain under oath.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to have a lot of questions. But I do want to go back to some of the stuff that you said at the end and make sure I understand. I think you said that you were never alone with Harmony once you were evicted.
Right.
And I think you said pretty much the whole family unit stayed in the car.
Yes.
And that was from the time that you were evicted.
Yes.
And I think you also said something about.
Notice the change in the demeanor. Notice that she gets a little haughty, that she gets a little cold. All of a sudden, there's no emotion. It's almost like she's devoid of emotion. It's like the emotion is gone. And I realized somebody put in the chat before, I think I started because I wanted to bring it up now. So let me just see. Crystal, great point. Just play devil's advocate. Cross is a different beast. You feel on the defensive, even if you don't have to be. Maybe that's why she didn't get upset. I submit to you, if she wants to appear credible, right? And she's my witness and I'm prepping her, I'm going to tell her she needs to remain as emotional as she was on direct on cross. Because I just find this to be such a complete change in personality that it makes me think that she's even more of a psycho than I already thought she was. But that's just me.
From the time that you were evicted, every time you were in public, Harmony had to be under a cover.
Yes.
Okay. And you talked about an accident that was on November 29?
Yes.
And that's the day after Thanksgiving.
Yes.
A couple of days after you got evicted.
Yes.
And after that, on the same day of that accident, you actually went with the family to your mother's house.
Yes.
And so you, Harmony, Declan, and Seamus are there with your mother and her boyfriend and Adam.
Yes.
You were not in the car at that time.
No, we were inside the apartment.
And Harmony was not under a blanket.
No.
And on December, what is it? Second, you and Adam got in another bit of a fender bender, right?
Yes.
And that was out near Market Street, right?
Yes.
And the kids were not in the car that time, right?
I don't remember.
You don't remember that they were not in the car?
I don't remember if they were in the car or not.
Okay. So do you remember talking to...
Is it just me or is it a complete and total lack of emotion? I don't remember. Someone's getting angry. I don't think this is going to play well for her. What say you?
To the police about that traffic accident?
Yes.
And telling them that you thought, where'd it go? That
great point.
Harmony was being babysat by Tabitha Scott.
Yes.
Because Harmony and Declan and Seamus were not in the car that accident, right?
From when I was being told, asking to remember that.
Again,
I was being asked that question before.
Uh-huh.
And I said maybe they were being babysat by Tabitha because I didn't remember if they were in the car or not.
Okay. You couldn't remember who might be babysitting them, either your mother or Tabitha, right?
Right.
Um,
Because I don't remember not having them in the car.
Okay. If I showed you a copy of the police report on that accident, would that help refresh your recollection of whether or not the kids were in the car?
Yes.
And this is where it begins. The first of many documents that are going to be used to impeach her testimony and all of the things that she claims to not remember. She's going to be confronted with documents and receipts to help her remember. And that's where I think that this is, somebody asked what I thought about the defense attorney. I find her to be very effective, methodical. I like the way she's very prepared. She knows what she wants to ask and she's getting it there and she's got a roadmap. and she's connecting the dots, and I find it to be effective. Crystal says, Melanie, I agree 100% with you about all the points you made. I was just pointing out what possibly could be going on. Yeah, I agree. She needs to be upset to appear as human with feelings. Yes, but I'm thinking like, Crystal, if there are people on the jury who are thinking like you think, they may believe her. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Thanks, Amy, for your super chat. The main reason I love it here is because you are real. Oh, Melanie, my favorite YouTuber. Don't ever let anyone dull your sparkle. Oh, no, girl. Nobody's stealing my sparkle. I love the sparkle. That was another thing on YouTube, on Twitter. Somebody's making fun of that, too. Oh, they're ruthless. But I don't even look anymore, so I don't care. All right, ready? Here we go. Here's just a little lie she's caught in, but the lies get bigger. So let's fast forward a little bit to when she lies to the police.
You were lying to the police, not you, right?
Right.
And you were lying to the police about what happened, right?
Right.
And you were giving them a lie that pretty much gave you, made you look completely innocent.
I agree, Lindsay.
Yes.
Okay. And then they came to you another time?
Yes.
While you were at the fit shelter?
Yes.
And they wanted to ask you about Adam, right?
Yes.
Because they actually saw you and Adam talking outside of the fit shelter, and Adam had just walked away and they came up, right?
I don't remember how that went, but I guess.
Okay. Pretty much right after Adam walked away, they walked up, right?
I don't remember that.
Okay. When they told you that they wanted to talk about Adam, you just sort of smiled at him and walked away, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And when the officer asked you to come to the police department, you said you'd already told him everything, right?
Yes.
And that was a lie as well, right? Yes. And then
So she's going to go through all of her lies, and it's very effective. You lied to the police, you lied to the grand jury, you lied to every single person. You're protecting Adam. And it isn't until 2021 when they finally catch up. The police finally catch up with Adam, and it was on New Year's Eve. So it was December 31st of 2021, because despite the fact that Crystal, Harmony's birth mother, had last laid eyes on her around Easter of 2019, she wasn't actually reported missing until over 2 years later. So when the Manchester police started their investigation, Kayla and Adam had already been separated, and he had taken up with another woman. Although this defense attorney is going to get her to admit and point out, Kayla still wanted to get back together with Adam because, as someone pointed out in chat earlier, Michelle Perry, thank you. While Harmony was decomposing in the ceiling, they conceived their third child together. Tell me that is not the sickest, most evil thing you can imagine. I'm with you on that, Michelle. So they had a third child. But Adam split for whatever reason. He was living in Maine with this other girl who eventually would wind up dead in a hotel room. But Kayla at this point is still trying to get him back.
during that interview, you also told them that you didn't understand why Crystal was saying she didn't have Harmony.
Yeah.
So she lied to the police and told the police when they caught up with her that the last time she ever saw Harmony was in November of 2019 when she was working at Dunkin' Donuts, and Adam told her that he was going to take Harmony to her mother, Crystal. And Harmony lied and said she was working that day, and that was quickly disproven through time records and payroll records at the Dunkin' Donuts that she had been fired even before she claimed to have been working that day. She lied to the grand jury about that. She lied to the police about that. And this is where it all started to unravel for her.
And in that, and what you told the police back then was that you didn't have a clue what had happened, right?
Right.
And again, you are distancing yourself so that you have no fault in this, right? They can't blame you.
That's not what I was doing. I was doing what I was told to do the whole time.
Okay. Well,
what she was told to do the whole time. But again, this is in 2021. They're separated. He took off with another woman. Why is she still protecting him? I have questions.
Adam got arrested on January 5th, right?
Yes.
You got arrested on January 6th.
Yes.
You knew that Adam was arrested, right?
Yes.
And you were arrested for something that eventually became a theft charge, right?
Yes.
And after you were arrested, you were incarcerated.
Yes.
You were incarcerated for several months.
Yes.
And you wanted to get out.
Yes.
You worked very, very hard to get out, right?
Yes.
You worked very hard to get into rehabilitation shelters and the like in hopes that you could get out to the shelter on bail.
Yes.
And it took a long time, right?
Yes.
I think it was May 6th you finally got out.
Yeah, it was 4 months.
Pardon?
4 months.
Okay. So May 6th is about right?
Yes.
I want to talk about some of the things going on while you were in jail, waiting to get out. Adam, by the way, you knew was not out on bail, right?
Right.
And you knew he could not get out on bail, right?
Right.
You had the ability to get out on bail, but he did not.
Yes, the defense attorney is a public defender, Dee. And here we are going to get into the jail notes that she took and hid under her mattress. And this gets creepy.
I didn't know he didn't have a chance to get out on bail.
Okay.
I didn't know what was going on with him.
Okay. What do you mean you didn't know what was going on?
I didn't know what his situation was with either getting out or not getting out or trying to get out. I had no idea.
Okay. You were sort of following events while you were incarcerated, right?
Not really.
Okay. You were following what was going on with Adam while you were incarcerated, right?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you remember talking to people about the fact that Adam was still talking to Kelsey on the phone while he was incarcerated?
Yes.
Okay. So, and you were saying, I have ways of finding things out, right?
No.
Okay. We'll get back to that in a second.
Kelsey Small, that was the name of the woman that he was with and that he was found living in his car again in Maine. I think it was in Maine with her, with Kelsey on New Year's Eve. Happy New Year, 2021, turning into 2022. And you can see this is where I'm finding that Kayla is real jealous that he's with this other woman. And it's a little, I don't know. Tell me what you think about it.
during that period of incarceration that you wanted to get out, you did not tell the police the truth of what happened to Harmony, right?
Right.
You didn't tell the police how Harmony died.
Right.
You didn't tell them when she died.
Right.
You didn't tell them anything truthful at all, right?
Right.
And then while you were in jail, you sort of thought about your own trouble and maybe how to get out of trouble, right?
Not just my own trouble, but okay.
What do you mean?
Listen up.
I don't know how to explain it.
You thought about missing the kids, you mean? Their trouble too, because they didn't have their mother?
Yeah, and Adam. I was still thinking about Adam too.
Okay.
She's still protecting Adam. Even though he left her to be with another woman, the trauma bond is really strong. She never thought to save herself, to give him up while she's sitting in jail, knowing that she probably could at any moment get out if she just made the deal while her children are without her. She's still thinking about him. She's still protecting him.
Okay. You were thinking about Adam, weren't you?
Yeah.
And while you were thinking about how to get out of trouble, you sort of wrote some of your thoughts down on paper about how to get out of trouble, right?
You wrote it down, folks.
Not how to get out of trouble, just what I was thinking. Yes.
About what you wanted while you talked about betraying Adam, right?
Right.
To get what you wanted, right?
No.
Okay. I'm going to show you a copy of what is marked for ID as G10. Let's see if you recognize these writings.
How about don't keep notes in jail? Don't write down your thoughts. You don't need to keep a journal.
You finished?
They're going to find
Do you
it.
recognize those writings?
Yes.
And those are writings of your thoughts that you put to paper about what you wanted to betray Adam, right?
No. They are my thoughts. Yes.
Okay. Well, let's go. One of the things that you wanted was one last time with Adam, right?
Right.
You wanted one last time to maybe kiss him or make love.
Yep.
And
Yep. She still wanted to be with him. Still wanted to be with him after all that. Anybody else shocked by that?
what you didn't write was that you wanted protection from Adam, right?
Right.
What you didn't write was that you were afraid of Adam, right?
Right.
Because you didn't want protection from Adam, right?
I wasn't thinking about that.
Okay. You just wanted to be with him one last time before you, as you put it, betrayed him, right?
Yes.
And having one last time with Adam before you talked to the police, you felt like he would understand and he would love you back, right?
No, I'm thinking about the conversation that him and I had before.
About
the kids still having their mother
Okay.
when this situation occurs.
Right.
And that he would take everything.
Yeah.
So that I could be with the kids.
Right. You two talked about that and what would happen. And you both agreed that you were the mother. You were more important to the kids, right?
Right.
That you were the mother of his children, right?
Right.
And you needed to be there for his children,
Right.
right? And you needed to be around more than he needed to be around.
No.
You actually wanted him to not be caught, right?
Yeah, I didn't.
Yes, Becky, he only had her for 9 months approximately before she died. Yes, you are correct about that. And here she's going to say she did not want him to be caught at all.
Pardon? To be around.
No.
You actually wanted him to not be caught, right?
Yeah, I didn't.
Pardon?
I didn't.
And you wanted him to not be blamed for the death.
Right.
Because he didn't do what you said he did.
He did do what he did.
Okay. Well, one of the things that you wanted, other than being alone one last time, was immunity. Immunity for everything, the charges you were facing and what you were about to say, right?
Right.
And it's what you were about to say about Adam, right?
Right.
You weren't going to say anything about you if you didn't have to, right?
I was going to say everything.
Okay. And you wanted the kids in your life. You didn't want to lose custody of your kids, right?
Right.
And you wanted treatment, right?
Right.
You wanted mental health counseling, right?
Right.
And immunity from everything. Where did you learn about immunity? For
Adam.
Adam told you about immunity?
Yeah.
And this is things that you're going to talk to your lawyer about?
Yes.
Okay. And you thought that you want to see what the AG has to offer, but you don't want to end up being screwed yourself by them, right?
Right.
You didn't want them to play games with you and then you would get fucked in the end, right?
Yeah, because that's what Adam said that they would do.
Ooh, somebody tell that attorney we do not curse on this channel. Sorry about that.
Okay. It was all Adam, right?
I am my own person, but yes.
Okay.
Oh.
And you said, I am so fucked, I should just, I don't know, for Harmony, for me, for my kids, so you actually thought maybe I will help with the investigation for Harmony.
Yeah.
And one of the things is you were noticing that Seamus was having a hard time, as well as Declan, and you didn't want them to get adopted out, right?
Right.
And it's one of the things that you talked to Adam about when you two agreed not to talk about Harmony's death was that people would take the children.
Right.
And you didn't want people to take the children, right?
Right.
And you would rather hide Harmony's death than have the state come and take the children from you, right?
That's not what I was thinking.
Okay. But you two talked about it and how important it was for you to be there with the kids and for them not to take the children, right?
Yes.
And it is a conversation that you and Adam had after you discovered Harmony's death.
Yes.
And it is something that you agreed to after you discovered Harmony's death, right?
Yes.
And Adam did agree to take the fall after you discovered Harmony's death and had that conversation.
Yes.
And as you said, when you two were in sync, it was about as tight as it could be, right?
Right.
best friends do anything for the other.
Right.
Right, including lie. Are you lying today? Were you lying then, or are you lying now?
That note was your thoughts for what you wanted your attorney to talk to the AG about, right?
Yes.
And that note was found in your cell, hidden like between the mattress and the frame?
No, it was in a book.
Okay. But it was found during a regular cell search, right?
Yes.
And the COs asked you about that note.
Yes.
And you said that you wanted to talk to the AG.
Yes.
Right? And when you hoped to talk to the AG, those were the conditions that you wanted to get.
Yes.
And you did not have a conversation with the AG in January, right?
No.
Didn't have a conversation with the AG in February, right?
No.
Didn't have a conversation with the AG in March, right?
No.
But you did get a subpoena for the grand jury.
Yes.
And you understood what the grand jury was.
Yes.
And you did get out May 6th, right? That
Yes.
was before the grand jury, right?
Yes.
And you still didn't talk to the AG before you went to the grand jury.
Right.
She's getting at, and then you went to the grand jury and you lied. So that comes in around here.
I couldn't do. So in any event, you, after that note was seized, you asked to talk to the AG. You didn't talk to the AG before getting subpoenaed to the grand jury, but you did get out, right?
Yes.
And before you got out, you actually filed for divorce, right?
Yes.
You filed for divorce in March.
Yes.
And you were done, right?
As hard as it was, yes.
Okay, done. He was in your past now.
Not really, but
Okay. But your future was about you now, right?
yeah, I tried.
Okay. And you went to the grand jury in May of 2022, May 20th, actually, right? That sound right?
I didn't know it was in the same month that I got out, but I thought it was around that time between May and June.
Okay. If I showed you a copy of the front of the transcript of your testimony, would that help refresh your recollection about when it was?
Yes.
Okay. And this is State's Defendant's Exhibit B for ID. Does that refresh your recollection? Yes, please feel free to check through the transcript to make sure it's correct and that it's you.
I remember I remember going to this, yes.
Okay. And looking at it doesn't refresh your recollection about the exact day, but it seems like around the.
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you went to the grand jury, you had no immunity, right?
Right.
You had no agreement with the state.
Right.
And about 2 years, over 2 years had passed since Harmony had died.
Yes.
And over 2 months had passed since you wrote that note that is Exhibit G of the conditions that you'd like to get for, quote, betraying Adam, right?
Yes.
And so you went to the grand jury.
Yes.
And you were advised that you had to tell the truth, right? They actually swore you in like you were sworn in here.
Yes.
And there was a prosecutor there asking you questions.
Yes.
And there was a group of people not in this configuration, but probably even more people there that were the grand jury.
Yes.
And let's hope the jury feels that way too. Ann says, bottom line, I see Kay is a lowlife, Kayla, but for me, Adam did it. So she's going to continue to point out many, 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 many lies. And this is going to go on for most of the rest of the cross. I mean, I thought a lot of it was effective. I don't know if she's exonerating Adam as much as she's just, again, making Kayla looking as like a lowlife. And those of you that watch the entire cross-examination can probably attest to that. But what I found even more disturbing and telling is what happened on redirect. And if you know, you know, because you've already seen this, but it's too good not to play. So we're going to play it. If it's too fast, let me know. This is here. This was on redirect.
Whenever you're ready.
Thank you. So, Kayla, you just said that part of that argument was about failure to pay bills. Can you tell the jurors what the other part of that argument was about?
It was about Adam hitting Harmony.
It was about, sorry?
Adam hitting Harmony.
Okay. And this bag that you have identified?
Yes.
Is it similar? Is it identical to the one that was brought to the Econo Lodge?
Yes.
Is it identical to the one that Adam left in the U-Haul?
Yes.
It's too far from the mic.
That you mentioned? When did they make it onto that bag?
Before we left Guilford Street.
Before you left Guilford Street?
Yes.
And so that would have been before Harmony's body was ever placed in the bag?
Yes.
Before the defendant murdered Harmony?
Yes.
Before he beat her to death in that parking lot?
Yes.
Was
Sustained.
Was that before he beat her to death in the parking lot?
Yes.
Attorney Smith just showed you several items, saws, and I want to be very clear. The saw in my right hand was what the defendant discussed.
Objection, meeting.
Sustained.
Foundational question. Did he testify on direct that the saw in my right hand was the one that the defendant used, discussed using to dismember Harmony?
Yes.
Did you say that on direct? Because that's in fact what he did. He discussed using this to dismember Harmony.
Yes, he did.
And the saw in my left hand that the defense attorney showed you just now, was this similar to the item that was under your countertop?
Yes.
Attorney Smith asked you, she asked you about if that's when the defendant was losing it. What does losing it mean to you? Was that when he was hitting you? Was that something else?
Everything. He was abusive. He, in all ways, physical, emotional, and mentally.
You said physical, you said emotional, and you said mentally.
Yes.
And let's unpack that. How is he physical with you? How is he physically abusive towards you in that period before you escaped him?
He thought that I was telling on him or cheating on him or trying to kill him.
Okay. And how was he physical with you in those interactions?
He wanted me to tell him who I was cheating on him with or if I was working with the cops, and I kept saying that I didn't, and he kept hitting me anyway. And then I started telling him that I did, even though I wasn't, and he still kept hitting me anyway.
And let's talk about that. Why would you tell him that you were doing these things, working with the police, why would you tell him that, even though you weren't at the time?
So that I wouldn't get hit.
Did he still hit you?
Yes.
You said that he was emotionally abusive to you. Tell the jurors about that.
Because he'd go back and forth with telling me to tell him that I was working with the cops, and he would accuse me of sleeping with the guy downstairs, sleeping with all these different people, that I came out of the window one night. I couldn't take care of the kids. He wouldn't let me do anything without him being there.
You said that he was mentally abusive to you. Can you tell the jurors how?
By asking me if I was working with the cops and making sure that I stuck with the story that he brought me to work and dropped me off and was bringing Harmony to her mom.
And can you tell us who came up with that story?
He did, Adam.
And you stuck to it.
Yeah.
You stuck to it even though you knew you weren't working at the time. I'll rephrase. Did you stick to it even though you knew you weren't working at the time?
Yes.
Attorney Smith asked you about Adam being pure evil. Did you think that Adam was pure evil?
When he would start going crazy, yeah.
And you mentioned the evil eyes. When he looked at you in that moment, evil eyes. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
And was that right after he'd beaten Harmony?
Yeah, it just got worse.
So I mean, correct me if you think I'm wrong, but she's saying that he did not become abusive until after he gave her the crazy eyes around the time of Harmony's passing. What say you? Is that believable? They were living in a car with 3 small children. If he was going to take out his anger on someone, did he never take it out on her? I don't know if I'm buying that. I just don't know. I don't know. What say you?
Were there also good times with the defendant in that period?
Yeah. But it was mostly bad.
And in those bad times, were you hoping for the good times?
I feel like she's mourning the loss of her fairy tale relationship that she had. That's how delusional she is.
Yeah.
Kayla, do you still love the defendant?
I still care about him because he's the father of my children. He was my best friend.
She still loves him. She still loves him. She doesn't just care about him. She is still deeply in love with him, in my opinion. What say you?
It's been hard for me to just let go.
Kayla, I want to switch gears with you just a bit. You mentioned that after the defendant had beaten Harmony to death, after your car died at that intersection, after the defendant realized that Harmony was dead, that he got a duffel bag out of the trunk And Attorney Smith asked you about him getting that duffel bag out of the trunk. And you said that the trunk would not open.
Yeah.
And he had to go in through the back seats.
Yeah.
Can you tell the jurors why the trunk wouldn't open?
When the car died, nothing was electronic was working. The windows wouldn't go down. The car just stopped working.
Kayla, I'm going to switch gears with you again. And I'm sorry to bounce around like this, but you talked about Mr. Badero, Anthony Badero, being a source of drugs, an occasional source of drugs.
Yes.
And Attorney Smith asked you about how these drugs would be purchased.
Yes.
And I believe the testimony that she asked you about was that sometimes you'd pay for them, sometimes he'd give them to you for free. Do you remember that line of questioning?
Yes.
Would Mr. Badero also accept food stamps or SNAP as a form of payment for drugs?
Yes.
And when you were
SNAP for drugs, people. So they call the benefits SNAP for drugs. Food stamps and SNAP trading for drugs. That's all they needed Harmony for. That's why they fought for 4 years to get custody of her, because it was just more money for drugs. Come for me in the comments.
living in the car, is that a form of payment that he accepted?
Yes.
Did that lead to your family having to eat baby food as a result?
Yes.
Who was eating baby food while you were living in that car?
All of us. Myself and the boys and Harmony.
Attorney Smith asked you about trying to keep things quiet in the parking lot of the Colonial Village Apartments that morning around 3 a.m. when you woke up and the defendant was beating Harmony, striking her blow after blow. And you talked about the children not screaming. Is that because at the same time he was telling them to shut the fuck up? I think that was your testimony on direct.
Yes.
Who was he telling to shut the fuck up?
Harmony.
And was that before, during, or after he was brutally beating her?
Before and after.
Attorney Smith asked you several questions about Harmony, the changes that were happening to her. And she said that it was difficult for Harmony because of all the changes. And you agreed with that, but I want to ask you about that. Was it difficult for Harmony because of all the changes that she was going through?
Why don't you finish the question and then I'll rule on the objection.
So Kayla, was it difficult for Harmony because of all the changes she was going through, or because she was terrified of the defendant?
Sustained. You may rephrase the question.
Kayla, was it difficult for Harmony because of her fear of the defendant? It's a direct question. It's not a leading question.
I don't know that she can testify about Harmony's fear. I mean, I agree that objection should be sustained, but we'll see what happens.
I think it was all of it.
And let's talk about all of it. Can you tell the jurors what all of it is?
Adam being abusive, physically and mentally, and everything she went through from her mom and her dad.
And Kayla, when you say Adam being abusive, you're talking about the accidents that you would have.
Yes.
During your cross-examination, this was last week, the defense attorney said during her examination of you that Harmony died in the car with you, right? And you weren't able to explain the answer that you'd given. Who else was in the car with you, with Harmony, when Harmony died?
Adam and the two boys.
And who was striking her repeatedly right before she died?
Adam.
Are you aware that the defense argued in their opening that something happened to Harmony in the middle of the night, and that thing killed her before the defendant was even around?
Right.
So is that true?
No.
Did Harmony die in the middle of the night alone with you when the defendant wasn't even there?
No.
That's the defense. What do you think? Is she credible? Yeah, Kurt. I'm pretty sure Snap is supposed to be used for food, but they would just trade it. They would just trade it for drugs. So drugs are bad. Drugs are bad. People are putting that in the chat. 100%. Drugs are bad. That's how addicts are. No food, just drugs. Except sometimes when you need Burger King for breakfast after the methadone clinic and taking the life of your child, or your adopted child, or your stepchild.
So is that true?
No.
Did Harmony die in the middle of the night alone with you when the defendant wasn't even there?
No.
Turned off the
So
water.
when you testified during the defendant's examination that you thought Harmony was sleeping, but then found out she was dead,
Yes.
was that in the middle of the night, or was that the next day after your car broke down?
That was the next day.
That was after the methadone clinic.
Yes.
Kayla, you were just asked, so you were asked last Friday, about a letter that you'd written with various demands. Do you remember that? It's the defense exhibit G.
Yes.
In that letter, you discuss betraying the defendant, and the attorney asked you if you wrote betraying, but you weren't asked to explain what betraying meant. Can you tell the jurors what you meant when you said betraying?
I felt like I was betraying him, Adam, by telling what happened to Harmony. And I was fighting with myself. Because I didn't want him to be mad at me for doing the right thing.
Wow.
Were you referring to the secret that you'd been keeping for 2 years?
Yes.
Were you referring to telling the truth about him beating Harmony to death? I'll strike that question, Judge. Last week.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to show you. Just that it's pretty clear to me that she still loves this guy, and drugs are bad. And do you believe her? Maureen says, misery loves company. Addicts are codependent on each other when in a relationship. Yep. We had a lot of really good comments earlier. Oh, thanks, Holly, for your super sticker. Thanks, Joanne, for your $20 super sticker. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. Deanna Bellina for your $5 happy birthday super sticker. Thank you so much. This was a great comment. I wanted to highlight it again. The purple says, if Kayla was so afraid of Adam when Harmony pottied on herself, Kayla would have cleaned her up ASAP. We didn't watch all of the testimony about the hygiene, but apparently they didn't even wipe it up. They didn't clean her off. They didn't wipe it up. They put her underwear in a bag. It's disgusting. What do I think about the defense attorney? I think we went through that one before. I think she's meticulous. She has a roadmap. Was she successful 100%? I don't know. I think the jury's going to want to blame somebody. And if they know that she's got immunity, they can't blame her. So I'm, fingers crossed on a conviction here. Thank you, Tammy, so much for the $10 super chat. Very hard to watch alone. I thank you for covering the most difficult cases like this one. Happy birthday. Appreciate you very much. Forget the naysayers. You are real and very trusted. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Benjamin John, how did the other girlfriend die in Maine? She was found deceased of an OD, allegedly of a drug overdose in a hotel room. I don't remember exactly when that was. Thanks for becoming a member, Tammy. Thanks, Martha, for becoming a member. And Danielle, this is what I was trying to point out, and you pointed that out perfectly for me. It's so unfortunate, but the jury needs to find Kayla credible. Otherwise, Adam will not be convicted. She should also be charged with taking the life of Harmony. But this is Adam's trial, and her testimony is important. Yes, 100%. And they need to believe her. Otherwise, he's not going away. Christopher says he got out of prison and got custody of her a few months later. Yes. Thank you to the Massachusetts judge for not looking at the file and for not granting an adjournment so that Crystal, Harmony's mother, could be present at the hearing. Nissa says Harmony's from Massachusetts and the Massachusetts DCF messed up, but they aren't going to face any consequences. Nope. That's what you call qualified immunity, folks. Thanks, Karina, for becoming a member. Anne says she didn't want any of that. The kids, treatment, nothing constructive. What she wants still, it seems, is to turn the clock back and get back to using with Adam. New Hampshire woman, I was wondering this too. I wonder if she's always been in bad relationships. Susan Bartelt says it's hard for me to let go, meaning Adam. That's the truest statement she made on the stand. I agree. Aaron Bella said, I read there was a prison phone call from Adam's dad and Kayla. Kayla says she still loves Adam. Well, I don't think they're going to be together anytime soon, unless when she gets out, maybe in 3 months, she goes on some conjugal jailhouse visits. I have no idea. I have no idea how he got custody, but I'm going to show you some footage of the adoptive father of Harmony's half-brother. This was 7 months ago. This aired on Court TV, and it's heartbreaking because Blair Miller, who is the adoptive father of Harmony's half-brother, and his husband wanted to adopt Harmony, but the judge instead gave Harmony to Adam.
But in the meantime, we want to talk about Harmony's beautiful life and what perhaps could have happened to her if her biological father hadn't asserted his parental rights and kept her when he was clearly unfit to parent a child. I want to welcome in a very special guest. He is the adoptive father for Harmony Montgomery's biological brother, Jameson. I want to welcome in my friend, Blair Miller. Blair, you are a personal friend of mine, and you are also a colleague. I want our courties to know you've worked in journalism for a long, long time. You've worked at the local level, at the national level. You're working for Boston 25 News. Now you're also a writer. You write for the Washingtonian in D.C. This has to be so hard as being dad and also being someone who works in the media, who's a public figure. First question to you, please. How are you and your family doing this morning?
And Julie, thanks for having me on. Thanks for your friendship and thanks for all that you all do on this story, because it is important to talk about. I've read through many affidavits in my lifetime. We knew this was coming. We knew the details of this. But when you read through all that, it's, as you said, it's sickening. It's disturbing, beyond disturbing, to read the details of what was happening in this little girl's reality, knowing that it didn't have to happen. And I think that's truly the hardest part of all this. My husband and I started reading some of this yesterday. We'd take breaks, we'd cry, we'd hear from friends, and then we'd read again. And it's just really hard to imagine any of it, but really to imagine the life that Harmony Montgomery was living, and how she was put in that situation. that didn't have to happen, and that's the hardest part.
Right, Blair. And I want to go into more of that, if I may, please. I told our courties on the show who are so interested in this case and their hearts break for Harmony. And I know as they're getting to know you more and more, I'm sure they'll be reaching out to you and be following you in everything you've been putting out about this case for Jameson and your other boys. What really saddens me, and I mentioned this on the show, and I would love for you to speak to it if you would, please, is that you and your wonderful husband, Jonathan, were willing to adopt Harmony too at the time that you adopted Jameson. But Adam Montgomery had asserted his parental rights with Harmony. Am I correct on that, Blair?
Sure. Yeah. And so Jameson is our third son. You know, our older two we adopted, and then we wanted to adopt again, or it found us. And we were matched with Jameson. And the day we were matched with him, we were instantly told he has a sister. He's been in foster care with this sister. She took care of him. And we said, tell us more about her. And we learned her name, Harmony. And we learned about her background. And we said instantly, what do we need to do? Because if Jameson has a close relationship with her, we want to have a close relationship with her as well. And told social services in Massachusetts instantly we'd be open to adopting her as well if that's what needed to happen. And we were quickly told, well, that's a different situation. And she's been reunited with her biological father. And we continue to say, please leave that door open because it's important to Jameson. And even now he talks about her and talks about how much she has meant to him. And we wish we could have tried harder. We wish we could have done more. We wish that door was still open at the time. And we continue to ask, you know, how is Harmony doing? And how can we still have a relationship with her? How can Jameson have a relationship with her? And we never got anywhere on that.
Blair, you and your husband are the most wonderful people. People like you are truly angels on earth, adopting 3 boys, giving them the most wonderful life they could ever have. And the fact that you were willing to adopt Harmony too, that she was loved, even though you really didn't even know her yet, you loved her and you wanted to bring her in. And I have to tell you, my friend, all I kept thinking about yesterday, reading that affidavit, was that you and Jonathan saved Jameson's life. All I kept thinking about was if his dad would have asserted his parental rights with Jameson too, I can't imagine what kind of danger he would have been in. I would think it would have been the same danger that Harmony was in.
We think about that a lot. We think about the life Harmony could have. We think about the life Jameson and Harmony could have together. We worry deeply about how this is going to impact Jameson. Our motivation all along has been, this isn't about us. This is about how is Jameson going to judge this when he is 15, 20, 25, 30, et cetera. And I'm starting to struggle with, I always thought we could navigate that pretty well. But when you read stuff like what we read yesterday, knowing the details of it, knowing what's going to come out in court, you start to, as a father, I start to question the peace that Jameson will ever have with this when he's old enough to really, truly understand it. You know, going through that affidavit yesterday, I told you this yesterday, there was a date that stuck out to us, and that was December 7th of 2019. And in the court paper.
You're correct. They did have different dads. I guess he didn't want to correct her because of his friend. He's like, he was not, Adam Montgomery is not Jameson's dad. You are correct. But I guess he was, being kind. He didn't want to correct her on that. And I thought this was a great piece on Court TV. But you can see.
They talk about how that was the day they believed that Harmony died. And we were going back through our own calendar. And that was the first birthday we celebrated with Jameson after we had officially adopted him. And we can't help but struggle to think about how we were here celebrating him, celebrating his life, celebrating him being a Miller, while his sister was experiencing a whole different world and reality. And that is really a tough thing to try to understand. You can't understand it.
No, because it is so sickening and evil what happened to this beautiful little girl who was loved by your family, who was wanted by your family, and to think that she was living in a car, perhaps didn't even have enough food to eat. When I was reading the affidavit, a neighbor was kind enough to give them some Thanksgiving leftovers, didn't have a bathroom to use. It's just heartbreaking, as you know, Blair. And I want to highlight some of the incredible things that you and Jonathan and your three boys do to remember Harmony. And just the other day, I believe it was on June the 7th, if I'm correct, Harmony's birthday, you have a tradition, right? I want you to tell our viewers about that. We have one of your tweets where you put some pictures up and you talked about what little Jameson says about how all rivers and oceans lead to heaven.
Jameson is a really special little boy, and he's 6 years old, and he is wise beyond his years. And he is also very matter of fact about his relationship with Harmony. He knows she has passed. He knows she's in heaven. And my husband, Jonathan, and Jameson talk a lot about this and talk a lot about, how to remember her. And we'll constantly be in the store and say, hey, Jameson, what would Harmony's favorite toy be? What would her favorite color be? And we try to include that part of this conversation. But for her birthday each year, we celebrate it. And this past birthday, we went to the Potomac here in DC, and we had gotten 9 purple flowers, her favorite color. And that's a picture of our 3 boys. And we took them over there and had a moment. And Jameson said he wanted to put them in the river because all rivers lead to heaven. And for a 6-year-old boy to be able to communicate that, it just hits you in the gut. And again, this is about trying to create some bit of normalcy for Jameson, so that one day he knows that he did all he could and we did all we could.
Certainly. And you are, Blair, I applaud you for being so courageous to be sharing things so personal publicly, to try to have everyone remember what a precious little angel she was. You tweeted something out to that effect about you want people to not remember the bad or what happened, but remember that this was a beautiful little child who was loved.
Well, we've always been very outspoken about adoption, and we've always tried to be really advocates for adoption. You talk about the good things we're doing. These boys are doing good things for us, and I don't want that to be lost on us, lost on them, because they've saved us, and they have made us better people by adopting. We haven't made them better. And we've just tried to be very public about this at first because we wanted to find Harmony. We still want to find Harmony. And now it's turned into, what are we doing to make sure this doesn't happen again? And we have to look at through the lens of Jameson, of how he will judge us and society for how everyone treated his sister. And so it's so important to us that we focus on the good. There's a lot of evil in this world right now. There's a lot of evil in this case. And for us, it's just trying to focus on the good and focus on the positivity, this sweet little girl, that when we look at her picture, that we see love and we see a sweet little angel, that we don't see evil.
Oh, Blair, so beautifully said. I can't say enough. You and Jonathan are remarkable people, raising 3 remarkable little boys. I think Jameson is going to grow up to do very big things.
Yeah, that was when you see the way Harmony's life could have been, that is heartbreaking. Nancy, I don't know. How do you explain the unexplainable? I don't know. And Scott said, and I didn't highlight it, Scott, because it went by so quickly, the judge is sitting on the beach drinking mojitos right now, because shortly after he gave Adam Montgomery custody of Harmony, he retired. So there's no accountability. That's why they have qualified immunity anyway. There's really nothing you can do about it. This is a heartbreaking case. I hope we were able to cover it today with our usual sensitivity. I tried to not show some of the more gruesome parts of the testimony because it got really graphic and really horrible. And if you want to watch it in its entirety, Grizzly's been doing a good job covering it. I know somebody mentioned that before. and she starts it a couple hours late, so she fast forwards through the breaks. But this is a rough one to cover for me. I have 5 kids, you know that. A lot of moms in chat, a lot of moms that are subscribers to my channel. I have an older demographic on my channel, so a lot of moms and grandmas, and this is horrifying for everyone on every level. Cammie, that's a great question. Do you think the judge even remembers Harmony? I don't know. Maybe somebody can find him on the beach and ask him, because it's horrific. Thank you. Thank you for all the happy birthdays. I appreciate all of you guys. This is a rough one. And I put a poll up to see if you guys thought that Adam was going to testify. Let me check in on the poll right now. 76% of you say no. Interesting. 24% say yes. I guess we'll see. I didn't watch the testimonies today because I was preparing for this one. So thank you to my moderators. This is a really hard case. Very hard. Very hard to watch too much of, in my opinion. So I just wanted to recap it for you, and hopefully what was a sensitive way, and to show you what was going on during direct and cross, and let you assess Kayla's credibility and whether you think a jury is going to find her credible. So we will see. He doesn't show up to court, Jeff, you're right, but will he show up like the king and march into court when it's his turn to testify so he can blame everything on Kayla? I don't know. I kind of think that he kind of has to, right? I don't think that his attorney is going to be able to wrap this up in closing and say, Kayla did it, because there's really no evidence that Kayla did it. The only evidence would be his testimony. So that's what I think. That's what I think. We will stay tuned. I'm going to be on vacation for a while. So if I don't see you, I'm on vacation. Maybe I'll see you from vacation, depending on what happens. But thank you to my moderators. Thank you to my viewers, the replay viewers, my channel members. I love you all. Please hit the like button on your way out. Hug your kids. Hug your kids. Drugs are bad. And Kayla Montgomery is a monster. Adam Montgomery is a monster. And evil is just pure evil. There's a special place in hell for people like this. And I think they're going to eventually wind up there, hopefully. Remember, you guys, be cool, be kind, be classy. It is not hard. It is so not hard. Peace.